I see recording on and YouTube on. Are we good to go?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We are good to go.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Thank you all for joining us this evening. 3, 4, 5, 6. And formally have ascertained we have a quorum. So without further ado, I call the meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. Mr. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
I will. Commissioner Sycamore,
Present.
Commissioner Holden,
Here.
Commissioner Barrio,
Here.
Commissioner Hanrahan,
Here.
Commissioner Trindade Duramo,
Present.
Commissioner Kenzik,
Present.
Commissioner Harris,
Here.
Commissioner Lemon Strauss does not appear to be present, and Commissioner Fay is here. So with 8 of 9, we have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Welcome once again. Welcome to the audience. Welcome to the first meeting, excuse me, of 2026. We have allegedly a lighter agenda, which was done on purpose to allow adequate space for the election of the commission's officers for this term, and a couple other administrative things. Let's see how badly we can wreck that. I will begin with, of course, the consent agenda. You have before you the agenda for this very meeting, as well as the draft minutes from the December 4th meeting. Do I hear a motion related to the consent agenda?
I move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Without objection. Is there any objection? We'll consider the consent agenda adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much. Committee reports, mindful of our 3 minutes, and recognizing that a few committees took a break in December, well deserved. We'd love to hear about your previews for your January and all of your 2026 activities. Give the audience enticing reasons to sign up to join committees, please. We'll start with the Committee on Public Safety.
Yes. So the Committee on Public Safety had a great ending to last year. We added 2 new members, um, Julius Duhan and Maria Langholz, which is great. We're still hoping to recruit more folks, so please send people my way if you know anybody who's interested in public safety. In the new year, we're very much planning to focus on youth issues, the juvenile curfew in particular, as we see how long that might be extended or not. We're also very interested in continuing to focus on nightlife in our area and trying to ensure that nightlife is safe, especially as we prepare for next summer when we know activity ramps up and there's lots of holidays. Um, yeah, I don't have too many other reports other than I know that there was a shooting in LeDroit Park recently, which unfortunately broke a streak of months where things were pretty quiet. It's very unfortunate that it seems like the shootings are still continuing. The violence interrupters and the police are working on it and trying to figure out what's going on, but it seems like, at least as of what I heard recently, we don't have a great idea why it's happening, which folks might be potentially beefing and what's going on there. So, we're going to continue to monitor that situation and support the folks involved however we can. I'm happy to
Okay,
read out the crime statistics if you'd like, but
the time is under your control, sir. Let me know if
okay. Well, I mean, in the past 1 month in ANC 1B, total crime went from 100 in the previous month to 64 in the past month. So we have seen a decline. We've seen a decline in violent crime as well. We did see 2 assaults with a deadly weapon recently, so that's higher than last month. And robberies have gone down from 7 in the last month to 3 in this month. So, it seems like crime is still on a sort of steady decline. We'll see how things go in 2026. Um, yeah.
okay. Any questions for Commissioner Barrio? Seeing none, we can turn to the Committee on Transportation, Parks, and Public Space.
Hey, I think we had a great 2025. I was just counting, and I think through a combination of letters and resolutions, the TPPS committee had 15 items that came out of committee and became or passed to the full ANC. So quite productive. So thanks to all my committee members for helping with that. Let's see if we can double it this year. Let's do 30. We took December off, but next week we will have our first meeting of the year. We have 3 agenda items. The first one is we will be joining some fellow ANCs that have already weighed in on the strategic bikeways plan that DDOT is doing. This is like their update to citywide bike planning and priorities. So we're gonna discuss potential priorities specifically in or around 1B. So if you're interested in that, please come and be ready to talk bikes. We'll also be talking about potential request to DDOT about overnight street parking restrictions on U Street, and maybe changes to that could help with operations there. The thought is to maybe request changes from the paid parking overnight to short-term pickup and drop-off spaces to help with rideshare and traffic congestion, delivery, things like that. So that'll be a discussion. And then the final topic that is currently on the agenda is, you might remember we talked about multifamily housing, residents of multifamily housing being able to apply to the disabled residential parking permit program. This is kind of like a sister resolution to that about ADA parking more broadly, unassigned spaces in residential areas. Typically, these are only in commercial areas. So just a discussion about expanding them outside of commercial and paid parking areas to be like kind of just more common general ADA spaces. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Holden? Being none, we'll turn to the Committee on Zoning, Preservation, and Development.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Can you hear me? Okay.
It's a little cloudy, but
Okay,
yeah.
great. ZPD this year was also fairly productive. I actually don't have the numbers in front of me, but we had at least one letter of support that came out of, I think, almost every month meeting. We did not meet in December. We took the month off. We also, I think we added 5 new committee members, so we've expanded the capacity of the committee, which is really exciting. And these committee members, I think, have come from all over the ANC, which is also really nice to see. And I know that there are a few other folks who've expressed interest who are on my list to come up with. In the new year, we actually have a very, very light agenda for Monday, which is when our next ZPD meeting is. There are no cases, no preservation or zoning or BZA cases for us to consider. And so instead, what we're going to do is discuss the comp plan. Some of you may know that, but there's a fairly significant interstate extensive online engagement tool that is out and available for people to participate in. So we're going to explore that. And then also, because we have so many new committee members, we're going to spend some time helping the committee get to know each other. So that's on our agenda for January. And then I'm hoping in February, we'll sort of be back to our normal slate of items.
Very good, thank you. I heard a hand go up. I can't see it. Maybe that was a mistake. Any questions for Christian? Okay, we can turn to Committee on Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Regulations.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. We are often the most busy committee. We had, reading some statistics from last year, we renewed 122 business applications, including 9 new licenses, 104 license renewals, and 9 substantial changes. negotiated 7 settlement agreements, and passed 1 resolution, gaining full commission support. So we had a really busy year as well. Gave a lot of thanks to our committee members, especially the ones who were able to attend the 2 meetings we had in back to back within a month. So that was just some marathon meetings. And then also all the owners and other folks who've attended the whole year, and bearing with us as we learned a whole new process and uh, keep learning. But yeah, we did meet in December. We had 1 or 2 renewals to discuss. And then we also we are going to meet in January. Initially, we thought we weren't going to meet in January, but we're going to discuss the Noise Balance Amendment Act, as well as also prepare testimony for the ABCA hearing, that the DC government hearing that's happened in February, performance reviews that happen every year. And I think this is going to be an ample time to kind of give some feedback on ABCA, especially things like the website, some of their ways, easy kind of wins of things that can be improved that kind of can make the process a little bit more transparent for everyone and easy to follow and understand. So thinking about that going forward, and then we've got some new business items tonight, some settlement agreements, and some more work to going on in the new year. We're still in the midst of a lot of active protest, and a lot of. So I'll also thank you to the other commissioners who are doing all their work with mediations and roll calls and stuff like that too. So
It's a
thanks.
joy and a privilege. It's at least a privilege. We've got a question in the audience from Frank. If we can, oh, I can even allow him to talk myself. Oh, where did that button come from? That's new. Frank, you could unmute.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanrahan, for your work this past year and your fire by trial with getting up to speed. I know it's been a lot of work. I would like to say this generally about our work, the committee's work, myself as a member, but also to the commission. Thank you for what I think is a stepped up support of this important work that we do, that this commission does and is responsible for, to help maintain a livable place and a place that has good, strong commerce. And I think it's been dropped quite substantially over the last decade. And I just want to give you an example. At the corner of U and 14th Street, there's a Lost Society, an ex-licensee, now being transferred to a new licensee. And some inner folks know which licensee that is. However, 10 years ago, in 2010, actually, 15 years ago, they did not allow any noise, acoustic noise, amplified noise from their roof deck. Okay. Do you know what that means? That means they were thinking about how it affects neighbors and this neighborhood. So somewhere along the way, this commission and the committee that I'm a member of sort of lost way in supporting a balance here, a livable place and a place to do good business. And I want to say thank you. I think this commission's getting back to it. And thank you, Commissioner Hanrahan, for helping refocus and making sure that I think he understands this balance and the importance. And the rest of the commissioners, I appreciate it. Your attention, continuing attention this year to that balance. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it. Always good working with you.
We've also got a hand up in the audience from Andrew. You are able to unmute now.
Hi, how are you all? I'm just actually speaking on behalf of the Ward 1 Mocher, Stephanie, who is trying to get into the meeting, but she said she's not been let in. So I'm just wondering if somebody can let her in. Thank you.
We don't have a waiting room. Should I be using an old link?
I sent her a new one. So maybe she can get in now, but I just wanted to, but I'm also happy to introduce myself if that's okay. I don't mean to hijack anything, but at some point, I would be happy to do that.
Are you intending to speak on a certain topic?
No, I'm a new business community
Oh, I'm
liaison.
sorry. You're that Andrew.
Andrew's
We've
with the
been
mayor's
introduced by
office.
email.
Okay,
Hello.
so yeah, sorry about that. I'm like on 3 different Zooms right now, so I had to go to my personal phone to get on this one. So that may not come up like that. But whenever in the meeting is fine, I'll be on the entire thing. So
Okay, let's solve the issue with Stephanie in the background, and then when
okay.
she speaks under the Mokers section, we'll have you say hello too.
Okay. And like I said, I sent her the link I got on with, so maybe that solves her problem.
Okay, we'll work on it. Thank you very much. And let me also quickly associate myself with the gratitude we're showering on the ABCR committee members. I'm not sure if there are how many of them are in the audience right now. Um, Certainly Frank is, and Stephen, you can convey back to the committee. I was in a mediation this week, and we were showered in praise by ABCA for our showing up timely, always well prepared, well drafted documents, spirit of cooperation, and willingness to work with operators and ABCA. The ABCA representative on that call was just singing our praises and said, it's not always the experience around the city that all ANCs are as put together and respectful as we are. So that's certainly a testament to your committee and your leadership of the committee, and also everyone who is pitching in. I mean, Matt and Stephen and Francois, you guys are going to so many meetings each week in the middle of your work days. It's deeply appreciated and really has done wonders for the reputation of 1B. So hats off to you.
Yay! It
That
takes a village.
Exactly.
second the yay. That said, we will turn to, do we have Mike? We do. The Committee on Community Engagement, please.
Hello, everyone. So we did not have a meeting in December. We kind of took it off. We are still looking to formalize the grant process. Hopefully, we can get something rolled out this month or next month. We want to go from application, some expectation setting, kind of know the rules as well. It's taken us, it's at least taken me about 6 months to get up to speed on what funds can be used for and what they can't. So, kind of formalizing it, making it a little bit easier for like the end user to use and to know. Do some sort of formal closeout process and reporting, gaining some metrics so that we can have a little bit of detail in the back end of how successful events were. I think we do a great job of kind of adding the application of what it should be, and then just following up with the applicant to see how the event actually went. On that note, put together a block party toolkit. A lot of people, it's a black box in terms of how to even begin. So just some useful tools for them, so it's not as daunting to set one up. The one big thing that came out of last year was we really want to encourage each SMD to do at least one event. It could be a porch fest, it could be a get together, it could be a block party, but at least within each SMD, do one event for the calendar 2026. Also looking to get, and this would be something that I think we would probably work with Karen or the chair in terms of marketing materials for banners and tables, and then encourage people to sign up for the newsletter and get involved with the ANC 1B. I know there's some materials out there, but kind of get a full package so that we have like a tent, a table, something that looks pretty presentable when there's like that arts all night event. Coordinate maybe a few meet and greets with the civic associations, neighborhood associations, friends of parks, and any other kind of organization within 1B. I know we technically can't host it, pay for it, but I'm sure if we worked with this civic associations, everyone could probably throw in a few dollars, and then that way it would be something where some of the leaders, the ANC, could meet with some of the friends of the park people. I think just making those connections would be valuable. Last but not least, the farmers market, which seems to be a ongoing saga. We were not able to get in touch with the ones that are leaving or left RFK. I have to follow up with Zabi. There was a lot of back and forth with emails on that. I'm still hopeful we can do something short term, or maybe even a more scaled down version 2026. But if not, we're looking at other ways to support the other farmers markets within Ward 1 and within the district as a whole.
Okay, thank you for the recap. Questions for Mike? All right, let's continue with the Committee on Economic Development.
Okay. So big picture year in review. Economic Development Committee spent a lot of time first focusing on the proposed Neighborhood Management Authority that was presented by the council member's office in January, February of 2025. The commission passed a resolution supporting a east-west orientation of some kind of management, place management entity. And we have been largely successful in keeping the focus of those future discussions on U Street rather than going into Shaw and South 7th Street. We've continued to work closely with the organizers of the Business Improvement District and working with them along with local businesses to continue to advance those discussions. On that front, we're hoping to have a more formal update to this group coming into February and a more formal resolution of support February, March. The bid is moving more slowly than they had anticipated, and so we do not anticipate, or so we know that they did not get an application in for approval by the end of the year. We're currently anticipating an approval by before the council recess this year. We also spent some time with DEMPED focusing on a number of critical properties in ANC 1B, 1617 U Street, along with the Reeves Center, along with Rita Bright. We've had some very good and productive conversations with DEMPED. The 1617, as an update, is further delayed. They anticipate that the zoning decision will be made on that parcel coming into the spring, so sometime into April and May. So again, later than expected. And there are a number of other extenuating circumstances, kind of the new economic reality of DC, cost of capital, et cetera, that are delaying some of those projects further. But our next big update will be kind of coming into the spring. We have met with DEMPED representatives, and they are committed to a full engagement with the community as we move into the RFP framing and formatting. We've also brought forward the Main Street programs. We still have more work to do with them in terms of kind of greater clarity of what work they're doing and plan to do, specifically on the U Street corridor. One of the challenges that I think U Street Main Streets have is that we are a part of a much bigger Main Street program. Shaw Main Streets has a part of U Street. District Bridges has a part of U Street, so we're trying to bring greater attention to that. And then finally, kind of capping off at the end of the year, the December meeting, along with the bulk of the November meeting, was spent on gentle density, a topic that we'll be spending tonight. I will reserve comments until that discussion. And then finally, a shout out to my pretty stunning committee. They're wonderful, they're great, and we are looking to add another member, I think, here in the next couple of weeks. But a really good, long tenured group with a deep knowledge of the area. So I'm grateful to them and for them, and that's my update.
Very much appreciated. Questions for Commissioner Fay? Being none, let's move into Executive Council Member and agency announcements. We'll turn first to representative of the Council Member's office. I believe it is Nicole. There she is. Welcome aboard.
Thanks. I have quite a few updates, so I'll try to make it fast. So today, the Council Members Committee released a report on the findings from a roundtable we held in October on possible human rights violations emanating from DC government cooperation with federal law enforcement. The report highlights the loss of trust between residents and MPD and makes several recommendations, including that the mayor should rescind her Safe and Beautiful Emergency Operations Center order, that the interim police chief should immediately sunset the previous chief's order on immigration enforcement. The council should exhaust all means to require that federal law enforcement officers are subject to the same restrictions imposed on MPD to not wear masks and to provide identification, and that the council should strengthen protections in our Sanctuary Values Act and close any gaps. The full report is available on our website. I have several legislative updates. I'm going to run through them really fast, but happy to answer any questions. The council passed on first reading this week the council members' bill to include transit agency workers, staff at WMATA. in the Employer Assisted Housing Program, which provides down payment assistance to DC government employees to help them purchase their first home here in the district. This council member is also introducing legislation to require the mayor to establish new targets for housing production and affordable housing on a 5-year basis. We also have a bill to address the persistent problem of missed deadlines in district government. It would mandate that if a council mandated report deadline has passed, the offending agency will no longer be able to claim deliberative process privilege as a reason for not sharing the report in response to a public records inquiry. We also have a bill to establish a more flexible housing trust fund, creating sub-accounts within the fund tied to specific policy goals. And we have a reform bill for the Office of Contracting and Procurement. And it would provide reforms to improve processes and ensure transparency and responsiveness. And then finally, we have a bill that was heard by the Health Committee last month that would expand the substance use disorder outreach pilot currently serving wards 1, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The pilot program led to a 51% decrease in non-fatal overdoses in the 500 block of T Street Northwest in less than a year. If passed and funded, the legislation would establish a permanent program in the Department of Behavioral Health to administer grants to community programs to provide those services on a permanent basis or stand up a program within the agency. So that was a lot very fast. Happy to dive deeper or take any other questions.
Questions for the council member's office? Commissioner Sycamore, is that your
Yes.
wannabe Zoom hand? Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Hey, Ms. Riviera, thank you so much. Rivaro, sorry. Thank you so much for all that. I really want to give props to the council member for the transit agency workers. I think that's fantastic. That's something I've really been an advocate for, and I really am happy to see that. Thank you so much. And my second question is there any updates as far as the appointment for the at-large council member? Updates on that? Because I know a lot of people are confused as to how this process works. I'm happy to explain it, or if you want to explain it, and just how that process is, what it's looking like so far, if there's any candidates that they're considering, because I don't think any of that information has been released yet.
Yeah, so there was some discussion of this, the legislative breakfast on Tuesday. There are certainly folks that have put their names forward. I don't have that list to share. But for the interim, for an at-large seat, for the independent seat, an interim council member is appointed by the council until a special election can be held to fill the seat. And so the council will choose someone. I don't really have a lot of additional info right now about what the selection process will look like. But certainly if I get any more information, I'm happy to share with folks as we kind of learn more. This is not a very common thing to happen. And so we'll have someone soon. I think the chairman has said he wants to appoint someone by the end of January, but I don't have any more details about a more concrete timeline.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question.
We'll turn to Frank. You can go ahead and unmute.
Yes. Hi, Nicole. I wasn't able to address our council member last month because she was here in person. So I'll ask you first. I had a question for you 2 months ago, so I'll follow up on that in just a second because I haven't heard anything, and maybe you've responded to the commission here on that matter. But rats. We have rat terrorism in the neighborhood. We have rat terrorism throughout the district, 1B. And so my question to you is, the council member has recently signed on to a bill to overview rat problem and address it in some fashion. She held a roundtable or a committee hearing on trash pickup and the problems with picking up trash. And that was about 6 weeks ago. However, both of these venues, nobody addresses the big issue for residences in 1B, and that is all the rat holes in every single trash can. If you walk around my neighborhood, every single residential trash can has a rat hole. They're rat feeders, so it doesn't matter that you have trash pickup if you're not taking care of the rat receptacles. I'd like to know, what can the council member do about this matter and these problems with rat holes in every single residential can? Because she's not hearing us. She's not hearing us. She's held a council, hearing, and she's recently co-sponsored legislation. Nothing's being done. What do we need to do to get movement on this issue? That's a serious matter of public health. People can't park their cars in back of their houses. Their wires are getting eaten. People can't, and it's becoming unlivable, and so what can the council member do? Do we have a meeting with her to address this? What can she do? Because we really need something done on these cans. I understand, sorry, last comment, she's spoken with the director of DPW and he doesn't want to move. Well, that's just too bad. It's not up to him. It's up to the council and the mayor. And so what can the council member do to correct this issue?
So for cans that are damaged by rats, I mean, any resident can request.
People can't take one day off a year. People have to take off a whole day to get that done. One of my neighbors did it and had to do it 2 months later. Take a day off work to get a can replaced. It's not working. I've heard this all before. Something needs to be done that's more serious. And I'll leave it there. I
understand, Frank. So, I mean, we can have them repaired. We can have them replaced. I understand, there's a lot of rats. We're doing a lot to try to address it. We're trying to improve the trash pickup process, but for the holes specifically, the solution is to get them repaired or replaced. I don't know about another solution. I'm happy to talk to our staff about any other answers for the holes specifically. But that's what I know is the solution right now. I understand that doesn't address the larger problem exclusively, but I'm happy to talk more with you about different strategies and what else we might be able to do.
And thank you.
Frank,
and just to follow up,
Frank, sorry. Let me just say really quickly, because I want to let Stephanie a little bit off the hook on this one. I will send over to you, and Mike might also. LaDroit has been very engaged in rat abatement. And we have a very aggressive strategy in place for getting cans replaced and repaired. And a lot of it is actually around communication. We've also got a very good link to DPW. And so we're getting very, very fast responses on getting those cans replaced. So it's one of those things where I think it's less of a legislative fix, although there's lots of things that can be done legislatively, and more that's just kind of agency and process driven. And I'll help in whatever way I can, because you guys are neighbors and your rats are our rats. So we're happy to keep your rats at bay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And then one follow-up from last 2 meetings ago, Nicole, we had discussed all of the illegal sales been going on for years on U Street, out of trunks, alcohol sales, out of cars, out of makeshift tables. You walk down on the weekends, you see it all the time. It happens all the time. Our neighbors are our commercial neighbors aren't getting the business in their doors because people are partying on the streets because they're buying alcohol cheap on the streets. And so what has the council member been able to do here? It's we've been looking at a fix, and part of the fix is perhaps the fine or the crime, it needs to be raised from a $50 slap on the hand to something more serious. Do we have any movement on this issue?
I don't have an update on that at this time, Frank, but we may want to connect you with some folks on the Judiciary Committee as well, to share your feedback on that piece of it specifically.
Okay, I see Commissioner Kensick's hand.
Yeah, good evening. So whatever happened to the idea pilot that I believe Councilmember Nato was doing with these magical garbage cans that rats can't chew through? She said it 2 years ago, but she said a lot, doesn't really do it. So probably the same thing with this case. But whatever happened with those cans and those special cans that were supposed to be non-able to be rat-proofed, and I knew that wasn't going to work because living in Manhattan, it did nothing. Rats are going to get through everything. Also, Frank, to your point, if people start their car on a daily basis, rats won't chew on your wires. If you leave your car in an alley for more than 2 days or 3 days, they are going to nest there and they are going to eat off your wires. So people need to get in the car, unfortunately, especially in the cold weather, start their car on a regular basis, because if the cars start every day, I park on the streets too, they will not eat your wires. But if you're leaving there for a couple of days, they'll definitely have a good old feast and build a big old nest. But I am curious to hear what Nicole has to say in regards to council members' great idea, all of her ideas of what she was doing with that rat-proof can that I'd never heard or seen anything about it. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a pilot that we proposed that I believe did not make it through the budget process, but I will double check on that. Things like that do need to be decided to be funded by the council. But I'll double check that I'm right on that and get back to you.
Anything further for the council member's office?
I had
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I had like a basic question about the housing trust fund, and I just wasn't sure if there were specific programs that were being funded in that. I know you kind of presented it appropriately with your time as kind of a top line banner, but are there specific programs or objectives that are being funded in there?
Yes. So let me check my notes here. So it would establish a more flexible housing trust fund. The sub-accounts that we were proposing would be tied to specifically policy goals. Some examples we've given are building new housing, extending the life of existing affordable housing, and supporting tenant purchases. There may be others that are in the bill enumerated as well, but I can make sure you get that to review.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
Nicole, I don't know can you see the Q&A
Oh,
at the bottom of your screen?
I've
There's a
not
question
been.
there. Can we ask why the council member may still believe setting affordability at 80% AMI, such as in the bill she authored and that Nicole has just said was introduced, B260556, not sure which one this is. 80% AMI now means affordability, making 4+ times the minimum wage in DC and more as time moves along as the AMI goes up each year.
That is a great question that I do not have the answer to tonight. So let me check in with the staffer who covers this issue and get a more detailed answer at the next meeting if I could.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll make a copy. I'll make sure that is in my notes for next time.
Thank you. Someone has also asked when is the council member's final day in office, and I would say that's going to be January 1 or December 31. January 1, right? 2027.
I believe so. That's when I think the inauguration is usually January 2.
Right.
Yes.
And then
Okey-doke.
if I can just tag on to what Nicole presented on, there's a committee of the whole meeting on Tuesday of next week for DC Council, where our Harmony Park will be considered. And so Councilmember Pinto is the primary sponsor, but I know that Councilmember Nadeau is a secondary sponsor, so we appreciate her support and excited about getting some attention on one of our newer green spaces.
And if I can make one final plug, it is very close to being performance oversight season. So we will be taking testimony on, every facet of district government and executive agencies. So I would really encourage folks to sign up to testify or submit written testimony about your experiences, good, bad, and in between, so that council can take that into consideration during the performance oversight process. All the information about all the hearings is on the council website.
The schedule of all the entire slate has been posted?
That's a good question. If it is posted, we've been in the scheduling process. If it is posted, I'll put it in the chat. If not, I'll send it around to commissioners.
Okay. It'll kick off in when is the first?
February.
Yeah, it's not on the calendar yet.
Okay, I will send it around to folks. But for everyone in the audience, keep an eye on the council website, and I'm sure council members will also be pushing it out through all of our channels as well.
Thank you very much. We'd love a notification once they go up. Commissioner Hanrahan brought it up. There are obviously we have lots of thoughts all the time, for his committee, for example, I know that probably try to get several members signed up to testify together. So it's always nice to have some, get in there as soon as possible, so as not to be the 248th witness on the day.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate
Great.
it. Anything else for the council member's office? Okay. Do we have, Stephanie was able to join, so we'll turn it over to Stephanie from Mokers.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Sorry I can't turn my camera on. Can you hear me?
You're good.
We can.
Okay. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year's.
Good evening.
Happy New Year.
Hi. The only update I have for tonight's meeting is just I was gonna let Andrew stay in regards to DEMPAS grants, but because I know that that's what we were focusing on for the first week or the first half of the few couple of days we were already back in the office. Just touching base on the DEMPAS grant that we have coming up. The deadline is on January 16. I know we wanted a lot of the businesses, and I know U Street, well, 1B has most of the majority of the businesses in the area in Ward 1. We just wanted to make sure that a lot of the business know that you are able to apply currently. I know it's like really tight last minute somewhat, but we just wanted to make sure that the businesses apply for this grant as we continue to just front to the tape. And then also another update from the office is right now, Anthony right now is no longer with us in the Mocha's office. He has transitioned into another, well, he got promoted, but he has transitioned into another agency. He is now with the Clean City, and it is myself in the ward. We do have the faith liaison as well still, and the business liaison. And right now, I was also just told that if anyone is right now it's open to the public for residents to apply to be a moker if they would like to join. That is open currently, and that's it that I have for update.
Thank you. But pass our congrats along to Anthony. I was thinking, oh no, when you said he got promoted, I said, oh no, now we can't call him to come and pick up things in his pickup truck. But I think since he's at Clean City, maybe we can still call him to come pick up things in his pickup truck.
Yes, so I was really trying to just put everything all in once, but it's like, where do I start from here just to let everyone give the good news and also just like, it's good and bad because it's like, oh, my partner. But yes, I'm still in the ward. It's me. A liaison will be coming in as soon as we're able to bring someone in. But we're still going to be working with Anthony as well. We're going to there's going to be a lot of changes, but we're still going to be doing the same focus. And I know the rodent issues and the illegal dumping, and those are the top priorities in the war because we've been working on that really, really heavy with that. But yes, you're still able to bring in your concerns and your issues, email or text me, or just find me in the ward. I'm still going to be heavily, heavily, heavily in the ward. So yes,
Okay,
still
appreciate
here.
that. Stephanie, if you're able to find it quickly, I'm not able to find it quickly at careers.dc.gov. If you have a job posting, we'd be happy to share it in our newsletter.
Yeah, so I can I'll text that to you so that it's just it'll be easier that way.
It's on the Moto website.
It is on the Moto website.
Yep, it's there.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Trey, go ahead.
Yes, Stephanie, would you mind either elaborating briefly or maybe just sending to the commissioners the DemPed grant details? I've been tracking this stuff, but I don't think I've read anything specifically about that. And certainly want to make sure that we're pushing that information out to our business community if there are opportunities for them to get grants that help them grow and make our local economy more vibrant.
Okay. Well then I'll let the business liaison answer that question. Andrew, I know he's on online. I know he's attending 2 meetings currently.
I'm here. Sorry.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Hi. Okay, so I just want to introduce myself, and I know I've met some of you all via email, but my name is Andrew Shapiro. I'm the new business community liaisons for wards 1 through 4. Basically, it's like a business version of the Mokers, largely interfacing with the businesses to help with regulatory issues. If like DC Water is doing work in front of a business and they can't open, or they do street work and it's unannounced, so things like that. Just another resource and conduit to kind of help the businesses navigate access to different agencies and get to the right places so that they can get help with different things. So that's generally kind of what it is. It's a newer position, so we're feeling it out. But I myself have a lot of experience in the business community, and I've worked with a number of main streets, so I've interfaced in different ways with a lot of what has happened in different communities. So I'm happy to be a resource, and thank you for letting me introduce myself.
So Andrew, could you speak to the DemPed grants for just a moment in terms of process and purpose?
Okay, so there are 4 DemPed grants open right now. 3 close on the 16th and 1 closes on the 20th. And they are the Great Streets, the Emerging Retail, the Locally Made, and the Robust Retail. The Great Street is probably the most challenging in terms of just the kind of the information, but it provides the most amount of money. Largely, that is for like street facing work. So things that you're doing to help improve the physical nature of the business, the structure, the outward appearance on the street. The Emerging Retail Initiative is for business owners looking to expand to a second location. And so this would help provide a little bit of seed money, to help get a second location. The Locally Made is for people producing items in the city. It is also a little seed money to help, get production-based businesses off. And then the Robust Retail, which closes on the 20th, is the easiest for the businesses to apply for. It is a $10,000 grant in a lottery, and there are 40 of those given out, I think. And that is just, it has the least amount of restrictions in terms of the businesses that can apply or are eligible. But it's 10,000 for business use, generally tied to physical improvements and things like that. But it doesn't have to be like a physical improvement or like a storefront improvement like the Great Street grants.
Thank
And then
you so
there
much.
are one information session tomorrow, and I think that might be the last one before the grants close.
Okay.
Can I ask what kind of outreach you do? And maybe you're too new, you don't know how it's been done in the past, which is fine. Specifically to businesses. I mean, I've talked about this with business owners in my SMD, and they've never heard of Great Streets. So is there like a piece of mail that goes out, or would they only know it if they look for it or attend some kind of session or event with the city?
Sounds
Andrew,
good.
you're
Andrew,
unmuted.
Andrew, you're muted. I don't know if you're. Did we lose Andrew?
I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. I'm just having a lot of
Yes, go
trouble with
ahead.
my phone. Okay. So the outreach occurs in multiple ways. If a business is in like a Main Street territory, generally most Main Streets or district bridges put out newsletters, and they're always discussed there. Those organizations find out generally pretty early, as they are often also like helping them one-on-one do the applications. So that is the first place. There are robust newsletters offered by pretty much every agency. And I would highly encourage, it's called the .gov system. So when you go in and you sign up for one newsletter, you can actually sign up for a bunch of newsletters, both DC and federal. But they're super helpful because sometimes there's also a lot of overlap between like SBA that applies to businesses. So all of the agencies have a newsletter. Most of them come out once a week, once every 2 weeks. But I would definitely encourage starting there. DIMPEDs, DSLBDs, obviously the mayor's newsletter, which mentions it. So outreach probably began in early December. Um, Generally a couple of weeks lead in time before the the process opens, and then there's about a month or so, and that is controlled by DIMPED. Now, one thing I tell businesses is, we now know that these things are here every year, or hopefully they will continue. A lot of the information you need is the same each year, and specifically for something like the Great Streets, there's a lot of documents you need. For a lot of other grants, you don't need quite so much. So even if you're not going to apply as a business owner, I think it's really worth going through the process because you get yourself organized in a way. You have the documents you need, or you know where to access them. And a lot of times, smaller business owners just may not be thinking about that as they're, going through their operations. So even though the official kind of outreach begins, I think in early December, late November, I do think, knowing that they're here each year, it would behoove business owners to consider also thinking about ways to keep this information current. But generally, there's a big push. And then this year, we actually did a day of action with DIMPED. So we went out on Tuesday and we touched over 160 businesses. A lot of them were in the area of this ANC. And I'll be back out tomorrow also delivering flyers to businesses. So it was a pretty multi-pronged approach. And then each of the council members, I think they all put them in their newsletters as well. So a lot of different ways. I think if you're not getting that stuff, you probably don't see it, but a lot of it lives in the outreach that comes that way.
Great.
All right, yeah. Then we fall into a gap here a little bit without a main street, so I'll have to connect them a different way. Appreciate that response. Andrew, there was a question in the Q&A for your email address to be shared. I can grab that out of Outlook if you don't mind or go ahead.
I'll pop it in.
Thank you. Another hand is up. Commissioner Sycamore.
Hey, thank you so much. And Andrew, while you're at it, can you also put in, you said it was a .gov program that.
Yeah, it's Go Delivery or something like that, but I'll put it in there. It's extremely useful because it connects to a lot of different types of newsletters, including sometimes, like in Maryland, there are some organizations that will bleed into DC and provide funding for like urban type streetscapes, that type of stuff. There's a lot of different stuff that's accessible that way.
Great. Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I've known Andrew for many, many, many years, and he's such a workhorse, and I really appreciate all the work he's done, and I'm happy to see him be working here. Just a couple quick questions on your scope of work. The one thing I have is public spaces outside of businesses, so like tree trimmings or any sort of issues with trash outside of businesses. Can they come to you for that one? Because I've had quite a few businesses asking me about this, and I wasn't quite sure who to turn to.
Yes.
Okay, great. Second thing, do we come to you for any sort of ethical issues? I know there's one in particular in our commission that has been in the news recently that talks a lot about ethical issues. Are you aware of anything like that, or do you take care of any sort of ethical issues related to businesses within the ward?
I keep aware of a lot of things that are happening. As far as my ability to do things, I think I'm pretty limited in that scope. But let me, what I am able to do is assist in conversation, so you can loop me in, because there are businesses that I am dealing with that have issues. But like, I would not be the person you would report it to, I would just be looped in to follow the conversation for awareness, make sure that the mayor's office is aware. Pretty certain I know the business you're talking about, but as far as getting involved in those issues, only from kind of helping to provide resources, documentation, and support in that respect.
Wonderful. Thank you. And is there any sort of, I mean, there's been a lot of business closings recently. Is there any sort of plans that we have, or maybe that's a larger conversation for another time, but do we have some sort of anything that we can help with some of these businesses, especially in the ward, that are closing?
Well, they should definitely make sure they're checking all the resources available at DSLBD. and DISB that goes underlooked, but the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking is extremely helpful. Particularly as a lot of business owners who may have other debt in different parts of their life that is affecting their business debt or vice versa. So those would be the two places I would start to max out as many resources as they offer. Not far away on Howard's campus is the SBA Small Business Development Center. They are extremely useful. They have a lot of resources. They're on Howard's, I think, in the Student Center. But to the degree that they are also in tune with a lot of the city agencies, so they know what's going on too. So they're a very strong resource. So that would be the three places I would start. As to the very difficult climate for businesses, the mayor has worked extremely hard to make sure that is not the case, but unfortunately, so many things are out of our control that have impacted businesses. So I know it's very tough. But I definitely would start with those three places, and as programs become available and we make awareness, certainly we're here to support in that way possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Stephanie, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. Thank you so much for everything you've done and keeping us updated, especially with the leaf collection. That's been fantastic. And it was great seeing you at the Mayor's Senior Citizen event. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so
very
much,
much,
Jamie.
guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for dropping by, Andrew. Please remember to pop your email address in the Q&A if you're able. Much appreciated. With that, we can move on. I do not believe we have anyone from district agencies. Seeing none, we can go right into commissioner announcements. I believe Commissioner Holden has one.
So a couple of us got an email today from Pepco starting sometime in like mid-February through like mid-April. The 1700 block of V Street is going to be closed during the day from 9 to 3. So no parking and no travel due to the construction or like reconstruction, I guess, of the Champlain substation and all the work surrounding that. So they said they're going to start doing like real engagement in the neighborhood next week and probably put out flyers and stuff. But since this is breaking news, I just wanted to flag it today. But hopefully some more specifics next week.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kenseth, go ahead.
Yeah, so actually, I wrote to the White House to President Trump asking about Meridian Hill Park and getting it back access to all water lines. And I actually did get a response back. So I'm looking forward to that communication dialogue to hopefully get all the water actually back in Meridian Hill Park. And the letter back to me was actually pretty genuine. And I think that something we might actually be able to see, if not during this last year of my term, definitely during my next term. So I'm looking forward to that and getting Meridian and Malcolm X Park back to how it originally was. And with that stated, also, Chair, I know that I know this is not the time, but we have to come up with something. We have someone on Thursday on the phone yesterday. We talked about possible doing a settlement agreement. I know this is not the right time and place. I get it, but there's never a right time and place, and this is going on 2 years. We came to some things that were mentioned yesterday on the call of what Thirst has done, and I know that some of the neighbors were not still happy with it, but I do want somehow or some way for us to either do a special meeting or some sort to give the commissioners a full opportunity for me to explain what they've done, meaning Thirst, and what their upgrades they've been. They wanted to let us hear them, and I also wanted Brandon to be on the call so he could hear me explain what everything he said and stated during the call, him and Mr. Sean, who owns the club, just so they know that I'm saying it factually to everyone on this call as commissioners, but also as the constituents on the call as well. We are looking actually to possibly get a settlement agreement. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Was it the Trump thing or? Oh, okay. I'm looking to get some kind of resolution, and I think Thirst is really looking to come to the table as well. From looking at, we talked about possible working with the commission, getting receipts shown of things they've done and upgrades, and getting sound soundproofing done. They're actually, from listening to them yesterday, they really seem that they're trying, and I don't think they've relayed that back to us as a commission as a whole. And I think it's important that we do talk to them. I'm not saying this has to be decided tonight, but I do know the next meeting is the 28th of this month, of January. And I just think that before we press on, there's something that we might be able to do in terms of a settlement agreement. So we could take it offline. I just needed to be discussed. And again, Brandon's on the call. He wanted to hear what I had to say about it. I know this is not the right time and place. Just bring it up. Sorry. Thank you.
Sure, I appreciate it. I mean, we'll consider that a progress report from you. Obviously, a settlement agreement is always our preferred vehicle for resolving this kind of situation. So, I think it's best if you connect with Commissioner Hanrahan, take a look at the template settlement agreement, start to draft some language, and carry on through the usual procedure. Commissioner Hanrahan, I don't know if you have anything specifically about the case you want to add, but I don't think there's much for us to decide right here, although I'm glad to hear that you're positive about it, and I'm happy to see Brandon here and would love for that to work and avoid getting all the way to the protest hearing and all of that.
Yeah, it sounded like the mediation went okay, and I'm happy to help offline about this after the meeting or sometime early next week. Commissioner Kasich and Nelson sucks.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
I actually have a related commission announcement of my own. It is true, as everyone has seen by now, I'm sure, that most of the lower plaza of Malcolm X Park is closed. We are hoping for a full replacement of the pump and piping so that the fountain will work again and the reflecting pool. We're awaiting like a spec sheet or some kind of written description from NPS of exactly the scope of what they're hoping to do. That's not been publicly released yet, so we're on tenterhooks, but they did say comprehensive, and the like official notice of the park closure runs through September. So clearly something big is being done, although I'm sure they're hoping to be done before before July 4th. That said, the Malcolm X Park community is also trying to show up for the park. And now that there's renewed federal attention on the park, make the point that it has always been the community that's taken care of Malcolm X. And so the cleanup coming up on January 17th, timed to coincide with MLK Day of Service, is going to be an especially large cleanup and work day in the park. Once again, to show that the community can match and often exceed what the federal government is willing to do at Malcolm X Park. So 9 to 12, Saturday, January 17th. It's on the calendar on the ANC website. It'll be in our newsletter. Would love to see lots of neighbors there with gloves and lots of enthusiasm. Commissioner Sycamore.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm really excited for Malcolm X Park as well. I have a couple of friends who are actually on this project with NPS, and they are very excited about this as well. But I can't describe anything else other than that. But very excited. One thing I want to acknowledge right now is that there is protests going on in our commission. Our solidarity, at least my solidarity, I can't speak for the whole commission, but I think our solidarity does go out to some of the protesters that are going on. The protests are going on right now at 14th and U. Also, I want to acknowledge that there was a fire in Harrison Square, the housing complex that's right there, that's right next to 12th Place, between 12th and 13th Street, right there. So I'm working on talking to the neighbors there, seeing what kind of help we can possibly provide, or possibly get the community to get behind, because not just that house, but the houses next to them, because there are row houses, were pretty heavily affected. So I want to get that. And the last thing, Mike, I want to talk to you about our some possible grants going on. I'm in talks with the Mayor's Division of Deaf, Blind, and Hard of Hearing to have a huge event, hopefully to go ward-wide, but primarily sponsored, hopefully, by 1B and the Mayor's Office, to host some large deaf events in April, which is going to be Deaf Awareness Month. So thank you so much for your time, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
Thank you very much. Any further commissioner announcements? Seeing none, community announcements. You are welcome, Gene Hamza. See a hand. Trevor's Culpepper. You can unmute yourself now. You have a minute.
Hi, this is Travoris Culpepper with Pepco. Just wanted to come before the commission. I did hear Commissioner Holden talk about the next phase of construction. As you all know, we're upgrading the Champlain substation as part of the Capital Grid project, and you probably have been seeing a lot of traffic coming out of Florida Avenue up 16th Street. We are installing underground infrastructure currently at 17th and U Street, and that is a transmission line. Commissioner Holden mentioned that the 1700 block of V Street will be closed sometime late in February for about 2 months, lasting until mid-April or so. We don't have any specifics in terms of when the actual street closure will begin, but we'll make sure to let you all know the specifics of that. And it's just that one particular block, we're installing a manhole, and because of the size of the manhole as well as the infrastructure where it's placed, we're not able to keep the street open during normal business hours. So we have identified a need to close the 1700 block of V Street during working hours 9:30 to 3:30 to install that infrastructure. So just wanted to share that information. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions for Mr. Culpepper? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for making the time and joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for
Appreciate that.
having me.
Any further community announcements? Okay. Steamship is going to chug right along into the administrative section. First up is the election of commission officers. Under the bylaws, of course, each January this commission elects its officers. There are four of them: chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary, and treasurer for a one-year term. It is January, so we will conduct our constitutional duty, our bylawsable duty to elect new officers. I will just say, by way of preface, that it has been an honor and a privilege to serve as the chairperson for the past year. I am incredibly proud of what this team has done. If you have not yet read our annual report from 2025, I highly recommend it. It is very compelling reading. You will see how productive our committees have been under some excellent leadership. We had quite a few new commissioners in the first term really pick up the mantle of leadership and do yeoman's work in pulling together committees. Commissioner Sycamore and then Mike Hewling led a brand new committee. Our committees are quite robust. We have pretty decent membership numbers. I'm really proud of everything that we've done. So thank you all for being an incredible team for a year. I make no secret of the fact that I personally twisted arms to make sure that as many people as were willing to would stay in their current positions. I do believe we have a good thing going on 1B. We are the envy of the ANCs. Not only because we have far too much money, but also because we do far too much work. And I really would like to keep that momentum going. So with that all being said, I will open the nominations for the position of Commission Chairperson. Are there any nominations on the floor? And by the way, Mr. Culpepper's put his contact information for neighbors in the Q&A. Matthew Holden, perhaps you want to send that on your fabulous and very readable newsletter. Commissioner Fay, please go ahead.
Actually, Commissioner Sycamore had raised his hand just ahead of me.
I apologize. Commissioner Sycamore. Go, Commissioner Sycamore. Don't do this thing where you fight over who goes through the door first.
I'd like to nominate current chairperson Miguel Trinidad Ramo for the position of chairperson.
You're very kind. And there's a motion and
Yep.
a second. Thank you very much. I accept the nomination. Are there any other motions on the floor? Nominations on the floor, I should say. Seeing none, there is one nominee for the position of chairperson. Without objection, I'm sorry, it's a bit awkward to be chairing for this particular election, although there's no provision saying I shouldn't do it. Without objection, I will declare myself modestly and humbly.
Let's vote. Let's
We
vote.
should do it.
I like
All
voting.
right.
Yeah.
Motion for a roll call vote.
No, just by hands.
show of hands?
It feels very papal and anointy like if you just say that it's by acclamation.
I didn't think about getting the white smoke. Yes. All right. We'll do a show of Zoom hands. Zoom hands, please. All those in favor of the nomination of Commissioner Miguel Trindade Duramo for Commission Chairperson, please raise your Zoom hands. 2, 3,
Aye.
4, 5, 6, 7. Damn you. 8 and 1 abstention. So elected. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very, very dearly. We will move on to the election of the Commission Vice Chairperson. Are there any motions on the floor or nominations? I see Commissioner Sycamore's hand.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Alan Kensick for the vice chair position.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kensick has been nominated. Are there other motions on the, are there other nominations on the floor? I see a hand from Commissioner Holden. Please go ahead.
I'd like to nominate current Vice Chair Sable Harris.
Nomination for Commissioner Harris. Thank you very
Second.
much. Other nominations? All right, there being 2 candidates for the position of vice chairperson, we will proceed. I do not love that the bylaws don't prescribe a procedure. Apologize. I would say if we can have, we'll do a show of hands vote again, please. Those in favor of Commissioner Kensick, please raise your hands. I'm counting 3 votes for Commissioner Kensick. You can lower your hands. Mr. Fay, thank you very much. Those in favor of Commissioner Harris, please raise your hands. There being 5 in favor of Commissioner Harris, that's 5-3 with 1 abstention. Commissioner Harris has been re-elected vice chairperson of the commission. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
We will move on to the election of the commission's secretary. Are there nominations on the floor for the position of secretary? Commissioner Sycamore.
On a roll today. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Matt Fay for the position of secretary.
I was hoping Commissioner Sycamore was nominating himself.
Are seconds a thing for this, or?
My Robert's rules is in the next room, so we're going to go with no because it's a small group. Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations on the floor for the position of secretary? All right. All those in favor of the election of Commissioner Fay as commission secretary, please raise your hands. I count 7 in favor, 2 abstentions. Commissioner Fay, you are returned to your glorious position as commission secretary. I can only thank you for your tireless selflessness. Having done it for 1 term and having watched you do it for another term, am full of respect for someone who can handle that much paperwork at all hours of the day. I much appreciate your partnership in making sure the wheels stay on the wagon. Finally, we will do the election of the commission treasurer. Is there a motion from Commissioner Sycamore? Go ahead.
I'd like to nominate current treasurer and Commissioner Aaron Lemon Strauss for the position of treasurer.
Thank you very much. Any further nominations for treasurer? Seeing none, all those in favor of the re-election of Commissioner Lemon Strauss to the position of treasurer, please raise your hands. Seven in favor and 2 abstentions. Commissioner Lemon Strauss, thank you very much. You are also returned, and thank you also for your steadfastness as our treasurer. And don't forget, I have an email to you about a treasurer matter in your inbox right now.
Like half this commission has an email to me about treasurer matters.
Great.
My treasurer service gets the grade of D+ in the year 2025, but that I guess that passes me into 2026, and I'll aim to do better.
can only go up from there. So, you know.
Low baselines.
No, seriously, thank you so much. I know you've had to learn a lot. You've become best friends with Dawn, which is wonderful for us, and so we look forward to keeping steering the ship for us. Continued. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, everybody. Thank you for your nominations. Um, Thank you for all graciously accepting. The election of officers being concluded, I will also conduct my obligatory duty of announcing the application period for committee chairs. Committee chairs also only serve 1-year terms. They begin in February, so we will have an election at our February meeting for committee chairs, all 6 of them. And if you are interested in serving as a committee chair, there will be a form to fill out online. It's not currently live on our website. We'll start accepting applications on Sunday or Monday. It'll be in our newsletter. We'll make sure we communicate it through social media and all the usual channels. Applications will be open for 2 weeks, and then the commissioners will review the applications, and we will conduct the elections of the committee chairs, like I said, at our February meeting. Any questions about how that works? Also, probably best just to email me. It gets a little technical. All right. That being said, and since we raised the specter of the February meeting, we can move on to a resolution I'm introducing to set the schedule of the commission meetings for the year. Another thing that we must take care of, another administrative duty for every January. I'll share my meeting really quickly. We're going to stick with, well, if the commission agrees, I'd like to stick with our practice of meeting on the first Thursday of the month, keep things consistent as often as is practicable. There are some months, I think there are only 2 this year, where that would cause a conflict with a holiday. Those are April and July. So steering clear of holidays, in those months, we will meet on the second Thursday of the month. You can review. The schedule will be Feb 5, March 5, April 9, May 7, June 4, July 9, August 6, September 3, October 1, December 5, and November 3. Are there any questions about these? I checked the holiday schedule. Karen checked the holiday schedule, and Secretary Fay checked the holiday schedule just to make sure I didn't miss anything. In fact, the July meeting wasn't like on July 4th, but I felt, especially because of the 250th, I think the city is going to be very busy. So probably best to give that one a wide berth.
Chair, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Do we want to have the November meeting so close to right after Election Day? Because it seems like it's quite a hard run. It seems like it's going to be this year. Do we? I just a thought or a suggestion. Maybe it's not necessarily a holiday, but I thought maybe give people a breather after the election, or do you just want to barrel forward, which is fine?
I'm always in favor of barreling. I mean, I stared at that for quite a while. It is 2 days after Election Day. I only didn't love moving it to the next week because that would be the day after technically Veterans Day, which I'm assuming will be observed on the 9th. So I don't know, made me a little hesitant. Also, yeah, that's a question for the group. I mean, happy to go with the group's preference. Again, Election Day is Tuesday, November 3rd. The first Thursday would be the 5th. Veterans Day follows the next weekend, observed on the 9th. Actual Veterans Day on the 11th. That's a Wednesday, so the following day, Thursday the 12th, could be an option for us. November, of course, has Thanksgiving on the 4th Thursday, 26th. So also a reason I was a little hesitant to shift it back, because we'll have committee meetings that might have to rearrange around Thanksgiving. So I didn't want to cannonball into the middle of that. But kind of 6 or half a dozen. Commissioner Holden?
I think we keep it the same. Especially because, like, is Veterans Day going to be observed on that Monday, or because it's a Wednesday, would it be on the Wednesday? Sometimes things float around.
We're talking Veterans Day already? Hey,
I know.
It's always observed on that day. So even
Yeah.
if it falls on the middle of the week, it's observed that day.
So then we have it's a Wednesday's a federal holiday, and then the next day would be the meeting. I think we just keep it the same, Thursday.
The 5th.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other strong opinions?
We can
Okay.
always change it if need be. So
We can always change it.
requires a month in advance.
Commissioner Sycamore, do you want to move to amend it or you want to leave it how it is? Okay, we'll leave it as it was presented on the screen. I move the adoption of that resolution as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of the resolution fixing the dates of meetings, please raise your Zoom hand. That's 9, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. What is next? Executive officers' reports. I don't believe we're expecting any. Okay, seeing none, we can move into new business. We've got a slew of ABCAR matters. Commissioner Hanrahan, if we can handle them in a speedy way, that would be much appreciated by all.
Yes, as always, and realize I didn't quite have them up, so let me try and get them up right now. But
Right
yeah,
out the gate.
right out the gate. Yeah, so the first one is it's a motion to introducing a motion to approve a settlement agreement, and the settlement agreement is with Amsterdam Cafe and Lounge on 1208 U Street. This establishment we agreed to a settlement agreement. They did not have any really outstanding violations in terms of noise complaints, in terms of any OAG ABCA board orders. They currently are using their space for kind of for the Ben's Chili Bowl, and they also are talking about wanting to start a breakfast, do breakfast in the future. So there's a lot of opportunity here for Amsterdam. And that is the first one on the agenda for our new business. Commissioner Harris?
Are
Vice Chair.
these amendments to the current settlement agreement, or is this a completely new settlement agreement?
That's a great question. Thank you, Vice Chair Harris. This is a completely new agreement, essentially. So it's updating the old one. The old one was a little bit dated, and this one kind of more clearly states all of the additions we asked for in our standard agreement. So it's kind of standardizing the
I
agreement.
think one thing that, I mean, we can still vote to support it tonight, but we probably need to email ABCA to understand that this is either a new settlement agreement or is it in place of, or do we need to bring it back for amendments because they already have a settlement agreement in place? I think, yeah, we might have to ask them about that because they have a standing settlement agreement in place and they're not seeking a new license or anything. So, because typically it's an amendment to an original settlement agreement, not a new settlement agreement.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's a technical point. So I would defer to Abker's handling of it.
That's what I'm saying is we can vote on it tonight, but we would likely have to email them and ask how this should be submitted. We can probably formulate a motion saying that we approve this as a settlement agreement and potentially as a full kind of amendment to the original one, but we do probably want to ask ABCA how they're going to handle this because we also don't want to settlement agreements out there.
For sure, for sure. And my experience with submitting the settlement agreements is the ABCA general counsel typically does a review of it.
I
And
know. I'm aware, I'm very well aware of that.
I
I
know.
think what I'm asking, I think what we need to do is email the legal and email Sarah and say, there was a previous settlement agreement. The other issue is that if there were any neighborhood associations who had protested it, they still have grounds and they would also need to sign off. So that's why I'm saying is we as the ANC can motion tonight that we approve this settlement agreement and or in the body of an amendment to an old one, and then email APCA and ask, does this now supersede the old settlement agreement?
That sounds good with me.
Did our link on our website, Karen, if you're dialed in? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot we put it under documents. I'm assuming there's no record of an. Oh no, the 2017 settlement agreement with Amsterdam is cataloged on our website.
I would motion that we support this updated settlement agreement and we'll reach out to ABCA on if they will treat it as an amendment to the old one. I would like to support it as a new updated one.
Second.
I want to offer a friendly amendment. I just want to make sure I'm doing it at the right place.
Yep. To the text or to the Commissioner Harris's motion?
To the text. Yeah, I like Commissioner
Okay.
Harris's recommendation.
Yep. Now's the time.
Okay, great. And I apologize, Stephen, because I'd meant to get you this earlier in the week, but it's maybe not a bad point for us to make and talk about here. So Amsterdam is one of the late night operators on the corridor. They operate until 6 a.m. We are protesting a number of establishments who are operating until 6 a.m. We are protesting them primarily because there are other extenuating circumstances, such as ABCA violations, OAG investigations, numerous complaints. And so in those cases where we are agreeing to a settlement agreement with late night hours, it's important for us to document why we are not, why we're not seeking to protest those late night hours. And so what I'm going to propose as a friendly amendment, and Steve and I can email this to you as well. Give me 1 second. Is
While you're
3 whereas clauses? Tell me if you can see this.
Sorry, 1 sec. While you're pulling it up, I wanted to point out that there was a mention in here of the grandfathered operating hours. Did you see that as it went by?
I did, but we're also
Okay.
trying to kind of keep things consistent because we are learning a little bit about kind of what language is used in the protest hearings themselves. And so, Stephen, if these are in fact accurate, then the recommendation would be to insert these at the beginning of the agreement. Essentially, they're saying, whereas of the date of this agreement, applicant has no documented ABCA violations, and in particular, no documented violations related to the sale and or service of alcoholic beverages after 2 a.m. And 3 a.m., whereas the applicant's establishment does not operate within the North Shaw moratorium zone, and whereas the ANC has not received any complaints from its members that the applicant's operations has a negative effect on the peace, noise, and quiet in the neighborhood. So if all 3 of those are true, those are very good reasons why we are not objecting to continued operations until 6 a.m. Along with the grandfathered status, which I think is clear in our resolution from November. So if you're comfortable accepting those, and if the commission is comfortable with those, it just helps to further clarify in writing as to why we are not being inconsistent, but why we have considered specific reasons for agreeing to something different than what we are agreeing to in other cases.
I like
And
that.
I'll,
Sorry if I could just quickly just jump. The only thing is, I think with the last one, I think could we change that to a slightly stronger word saying has a substantial negative effect on the peace, because I think in theory we protested on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet. So it does feel a little weird to say they don't have any effect on peace, order, and quiet. I don't know. That's like a technical adjective thing, but that sounds good to me.
Okay.
For that amendment.
And I know Commissioner Holden has a comment as well.
Yeah, so I am a little bit uncomfortable with changing the language in a settlement agreement or adding additional language in a settlement agreement because theoretically it's a document that two parties are agreeing to, us and the establishment. So if we're adding language to a settlement agreement at the meeting that they haven't seen before, like they've signed something else, and then now there's new language. So these things, I see the rationale for including them in there. We're trying to make a distinction between this and other establishments, but just kind of as like a point, I kind of don't like that, even though the
I mean, very
rationale.
technically, we'd have to take this back to the counterparty and they'll sign a new one,
Yep.
But then
right?
we have, so then we delay it a month because
I don't think
we
we don't
could
need
No,
to
because
approve it again.
yeah, if we've approved it, right? So the individual applicant can sign it themselves if they look at it and they say, because the whereas clauses don't actually put any additional parameters on them. They're more just an explanation of the rationale of the ANC. And so Stephen could certainly bring it back and they could say, no, we refuse to sign this. At which point you're right, we'd be delayed by a month. But if Stephen brings it back to them and says, here's the rationale of what we've added, it doesn't add anything to you in terms of additional obligations, and they say we agree to sign it, then they could sign it.
We don't have
Have
to sign last.
have we had ABCA approve a settlement agreement with these whereas clauses?
This will be the first. We have a series of, not a series, we have one other establishment where these are being considered by the applicant right now.
I think
They have been reviewed by our attorney, sorry.
yeah, I think though, like they might strike it only because it's not exactly like this is a legally binding document, even if it just explains our rationale, like the wordage of it saying like no complaints, like that's not entirely fair because we all know that there are many, many complaints, at least I know, on U Street. So I agree with Commissioner Holden. I think, I think this is a pretty solid settlement agreement, especially since they also were agreeing, they had hours of operation. Their license says until 6 a.m. and their hours in the settlement agreement have been reduced down to 2 a.m. So is that right? Did I read that wrong somewhere?
The hours of operation remain the same to
6 a.m.
For
Till
their
6 a.m. Is it operating or is it serving alcohol? Because the operating, it might very well be because Ben's Chili Bowl is operating in that space
yeah, they have had a
till
license
5 a.m.
for a while.
Alcohol sales till 2 a.m. Yeah, I mean, I think, yes, our attorney reviewed it, but I would say, I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of difficult because the establishment already signed off on this.
Let me try this. Let me try this. We have two protests that we are going into where there are ABCA violations, there are OAG investigations, there are real issues. The concern that we have is that someone is going to come back and say, well, why did you guys agree to let them operate till 6 a.m. and you're asking us to not operate till 6 a.m.? And
But I
we're going
mean,
to
we
say,
can say that there aren't any violations. Like Amsterdam doesn't have any violations.
that's right. I would propose taking out the third bullet, the third whereas. So I think if we were to say we're going to focus on here, let me pull it back up again. I'm sorry. If we were to say,
Yeah, I like the idea of removing the third one.
yeah, we say, look, there's no ABCA violations, and they are outside of the North Shore moratorium zone, and we strike this, then I feel like that's probably a more comfortable position for us to take. What are your thoughts, Commissioner Harris?
I think That's fine. I still am a little wary in that, we typically we get the applicant or the operator to sign before, and then we vote on it. And now we're going back to them and being like, hey, we've also added these. I understand that like this doesn't really change substantially the settlement agreement. Um, but I just caution the commission because, it's not easy to run any sort of establishment. And then, they get a protest from the ANC and then they see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're getting this signed and then now we're bringing it back to them. So I just, you know,
To
yeah.
be fair, we're not adding anything more onerous on them, right? Of course,
No,
it's
I
just
know, but
explaining why
it's
we're.
still we're not adding anything more onerous, but they've kind of like, at least in my mind, if I was an operator and then the ANC like came to me and they were like, okay, we signed it, we're likely, very, very likely going to support it tonight. And then we come back, they're like, what? Like I thought we like already agreed to this. So I'm just saying is I think it's a matter like putting ourselves in their shoes,
Of
it
course.
it it's a little jarring. And they already agreed to this. So, if we absolutely have
I
to, I that makes sense and I don't think
yeah.
anything substantial. But if it's not a must have, then I would say I don't know if we need it.
We could also argue, and I might argue, that putting a settlement agreement in front of an establishment without the review of the commission is putting the cart before the horse as well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, as much as we have faith in each of the commissioners who are working on these various settlement agreements, I don't send anything without sending it to Stephen and Miguel for their eyes on it, and the local SMD commissioner.
We also did though approve this template as a commission. Maybe not this commission with this template, but we did approve a template uh in a prior term. So it's not entirely new language. I see what you're saying. I'm just cautioning us of, hey, this isn't typically what we do, and it is very jarring for any business and it's not our fault, but I'm just kind of putting the perspective of if you absolutely feel strongly about it and other commissioners feel strongly that we need this, okay. But if it's not something absolutely dire that we need, then I would say, do we need to have it in
Yeah.
this settlement
I
agreement?
think you raised a really good point, and I would just go back to when you said that we have a strong template settlement agreement. That's true. This is not language that would be in a template settlement agreement. This is going to apply to so few operators who happen to have these longer hours approved by previous commissions or whatever. And I think with Secretary Fay on this one, I think we need to have airtight explanations in writing, not just verbally in the course of our meetings as to why we've deviated from the resolution we passed saying we didn't want operations past 2 and 3 a.m. And the more we can substantiate that in different places, right, including in the settlement agreements, I think it's going to be more defensible because we are anticipating challenges to those on the grounds of equity across operators up and down the corridor. So I think it's worth doing. And I mean, Commissioner Hanrahan, I'm assuming you don't think this is going to upset the apple cart with this particular operator, especially if we explain well
I don't
why.
think, if we did it behind closed doors, I think that would be one thing. This is public, this is being recorded. I also think like it isn't finalized until the ABCA board approves it. So, and that their lawyers will look after it, and there's oftentimes technical things that they change, then they ask us, does the applicant approve? And we go back and forth. So it's kind of this, process. And I think this is with our resolution, this is kind of an important thing to add. And I think it's within the fair grounds of the settlement process.
Okay, so why don't we treat this as a motion to amend to add the two clauses, the first two of those three. Are we okay moving into to vote on the amendment there?
Yeah, I support that.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your Zoom hands of including the two additional whereas clauses in the present settlement agreement. I count 8 in favor. All opposed? I count 1. Thank you very much. The motion passes. The motion on the floor is now the adoption of the entire agreement as amended. All those in favor of the agreement, please raise your hands. With the caveat above that we need to discuss with ABCO whether it's technically a replacement or an amendment. I count 9 in favor. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Commissioner Hanrahan, next one.
All right. Can't remember if the next one is Game On or is it
It's
Game
Game
On?
On.
Get your game on. The next settlement agreement, I actually think the owner might be in attendees. Is with the bar Game On at 1330 U Street Northwest. This is a fairly standard, is our fairly standard template for Game On's operations. They do have a slightly early hours of operation, but as I discussed with them, they occasionally want to have the option just in case there's an early party or can use it to lease out for an event. They don't normally open that early in the morning, and don't normally even go that late at night. And it's within the normal ABCA uh, realm to which they can operate. And so, yeah. Other than that, generally all standard. I would motion to support the license, support the settlement agreement. The bar Game On is relatively new, so they don't not have a settlement agreement currently.
Second.
Sorry, noticing in this one that at the bottom there where it's highlighted the address of the operator in Amsterdam, there was no address down there in that at the very end, the highlighted section, the like counterparties addresses. So when you go back and edit the settlement agreement to put in Matt's language, can you put in Amsterdam's address down there?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Motion to approve the settlement agreement with Game On has been seconded. Any questions, debate, discussion? All those in favor, please raise your Zoom hands. Count 8 in favor. Any opposed? Please raise your hands. 1 abstention. The motion passes. Thank you very much. Yep.
All right.
Commissioner Kenzak.
Abstention.
Gotcha. Next one, District Sports Bar, please.
Yes. Got one more of the District Sports Bar slash Prima DC. Also spoke pretty extensively with the owner in regards to their operation. Their license has curtailed summer garden hours already, so that's a pretty good thing that we like to see to try and just ensure those noise. Summer garden is often a place for noise running into the nearby residents. Talking to him, he's also they are also interested in kind of enclosing their summer garden to try and even make it all season and then also protect even further from noise. They currently have a door in the front that opens weirdly, but they're planning on also upgrading that too. So there is a slight change to that. They will take necessary measures to ensure their front door will remain closed. And yeah, other than that, it's similar to Game On, fairly standard template. They are fairly standard template. They recently opened, so within 3 years or so. They do not currently have a settlement agreement. And yes, Mr. Matt Michael is the owner. Mr. Eli Lidicum is the owner of Game On.
Okay.
I motion to support the settlement agreement.
Second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of the agreement, please raise your Zoom hands. 9 in favor. That passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Yay.
And next we've got
keeping it moving.
protest motion.
It had two placards before us. So the one of the placards, the committee did vote to recommend the ANC protest on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet, and all applicable grounds. They are the taking over the old Law Society space, and as mentioned earlier, a update to the settlement agreement to ensure noise quality is made through this process. Is hoped to be done through this process. That bar is Rush, 2001 14th Street Northwest. And I would like to support that motion of the committee's recommendation to protest on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet in all applicable grounds.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of sustaining the...
Yeah, hold on a second. Treasurer Lemon Strauss's hand has been off for a while. I don't know if he's seconding, if he's voting again. What's going on? Thank you.
Oh, I think we know what Treasurer Lemon Strauss is up to, and it's not because he has anything interesting to say.
Oh, I thought he was ordering my business cards I've been waiting for a while. Thank you.
That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow. I've got time
The
blocked out in my
burn.
schedule. You're first up, Alan, because of that comment. I'm putting you ahead of Miguel.
He needed to get
the
reelected, Alan,
burn.
first, and then
The
he could commit
burn.
it.
You can't handle it. Jeez, you guys. There is an audience member with a hand up. You could unmute yourself. Are you speaking about the placard for Rush, or is it for something else?
Okay.
Possibly also a mistake. Oh, go ahead. No. Okay.
Leave
Put
them
their
in
hand down.
for Posh Bar.
Right. Okay. Motion on the floor is to protest the renewal for Rush. Oops. All those. You've put your hand back up. You can unmute yourself if you want to speak on this topic.
Hey, Dereje, we're going to vote on this motion first, but if you are able to speak later.
Okay, let's proceed with the motion on the floor. Moved and seconded to protest the renewal of the license for Rush. All those in favor of the protest, please put your Zoom hands up. That's 8 in favor. All those opposed? 1 opposed. The motion passes. Thank you very much. Commissioner Hanrahan, is there another placard you said? Another?
No other placard. No, the other
Okay.
one. We do not choose to protest the other one. And then, oh, okay. Oh, yes. 2 more ABCR items. I will let Commissioner Fay do the last one, but the next one is actually a letter to ABCA regarding qualification review for ABCA licensees. We have received some community feedback regarding potential unscrupulous business practices and histories of the licensee owner for Rush. There is the district code states that the clean hands policy that a licensee should be of good character and generally fit for the responsibilities and should not owe for more than $100 in debts. But there are some public records referenced here from the DOB with a lien on property for an amount over that $100. And there is also a record in the DC Superior Court portal where it involving 16 unique cases of the owner for various suits. And so it's a little troubling to see this. And we also know that the owner or I've heard that the bar employees have not been paid since opening, especially going around Christmas time. There was a media video with an employee saying that, they have no paycheck during Christmas, during the New Year, during the holidays, and it's really troubling and it's harmful to the community. So this letter is, I'd like to introduce this letter as a polite ask to ABCA as to what their what their kind of background check is to a applicant, and what their internal processes are regarding this history, and making sure regarding the licensee history and making sure they meet the district code. And this was recommended by our committee member, Mr. Chauvin, and we are introducing it here. So, and we are also hoping to ask Director Musali if he can be present at the meeting, at our ANC meeting in February, to discuss that.
Yes, I've already floated it with Director Musali. He's willing to join us. I spoke with Commissioner Hanrahan. I think it's important to send this letter anyway, just to formalize what we're interested in learning. I want to be careful about the way we discuss this right now. Obviously, a lot of these are allegations. I don't want to engage in too much speculation in this forum. Um, but it is important, I think, for us to understand, you know, as a sort of systematic matter, how is ABCA meant to catch an issue like this in advance, and was something missed in this particular case, or you know what, this is not a part of ABCA's process that we really deal very much with. But in terms of clean hands and other checks that they have to go through, I mean, we know that operators have to submit a police report. It has also been said, I can't confirm, but it's been reported in the media that this operator has an outstanding warrant. So why was that not caught in a police report? Might be from a different jurisdiction, that kind of thing. So it'd be nice to have the director here for other questions too, related to other issues, I'm sure. But this was a particularly egregious one that's affected the 14th and U community and hurt some employees. Quick comments from Commissioner Holden, please.
Yeah, just a clarifying question. So the letter uses this particular bar as an example, but does it get at like kind of like more broadly speaking, like if this can happen at one place, it's like a bigger issue potentially. So like, do we? I guess is this like, how much is this focusing just on this bar, and how much is this focusing like kind of broadly? Because this raises bigger questions.
Yeah, I think the intention is for to ask more broadly, to ask more generally, kind of, are they doing the work that they should be doing for
Yeah.
any event? I seeing that now. I think we a little bit more language could be focused on that, but that is the intent here. I think we do get at that. That is the intent, not specifically so much just this operator, but in general, yeah, like making sure they do their due diligence in protecting, making sure operators are of good standing.
Thanks.
Do you want us to work in any language, Commissioner Holden, or you think it's sufficient the way it is?
No,
I only ask because
I
I'm
don't have any
popping it open
language
for.
on me right now, so.
Okay, Commissioner Sycamore.
Actually, never mind. Yeah, this is actually the one I was talking about earlier with Andrew. And yeah, I think this is a great letter. Thank you so much for all that hard work.
Stephen, if I may, I just wanted to be careful about, oops, one clause here. If you don't mind, I'm going to move this amendment. I just want to say, as of January 1st, some employees of Rush have reportedly not been paid. My understanding is that some employees have been paid partially. It's a very complicated and whatever. Again, I don't want to repeat too much speculation here, but just to be a little bit more careful there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Could I also
Yeah,
maybe suggest that maybe in the second to last paragraph where we say ANC 1B seeks, where we say to understand how Mr. Jackson was able to obtain a license despite his. Maybe there's an opportunity for Commissioner Holden's point. Play
Mm-hmm.
DC comes to mind, where there was a big community outrage about special licenses being given to an establishment
Mm-hmm.
that had their licenses revoked.
I like that,
We
Secretary. Yeah.
but we could say something along the lines of an operator such as, right, or an operator in this with this circumstance, with these circumstances, was able to obtain. And so
Yeah.
you're saying, look, there's an example with Rush, but we're applying it more generally, and we'd like to hear from you about why this type of thing could happen.
Yeah, we got to be careful with allegations. They always come back to bite you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
also it's Mosley, not Mr. Jackson. Jackson's the
Oh,
first
right.
name.
Correct. Thank you for that.
Boy,
No problem.
good catch. Thank you.
Can we all read it through really quickly just to see if do we need to like add any more allegedly or similar adverbs anywhere? This is from public record, so
Mr. Jackson again. Oh, sorry, Miss Jackson. Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson's in the third paragraph. Mr. Mosley.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
thank you for that.
Love that song.
Okay. I support these changes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right. I'll send this one over to you, Secretary Fay. All right. The motion is on the adoption of the letter. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of the letter. Oops. Sorry, Frank, you want to have a comment there? Go ahead.
Quick comment. One, this was unanimously passed. The intent of asking ABCA to review the character of this licensee, here specifically and generically. So it was unanimously passed at the commission, even though I raised it because character is important, as we all can agree to. Secondly, I just want to, having familiarized myself with some of the code here and this issue for the first time, that the board is required to deny a license if they have outstanding debt if they don't have a clean hands form submitted. So the question is, did ABCA have a clean hands form? Did this owner have debts due to the district that were missed when they first had the license transferred 3 or 4 months ago? We're now looking at the renewal, and we're asking them to undertake that review again, which they're supposed to do for new licensees and for renewal. So I just wanted to make it clear that they shall not approve a renewal or a new license if there's outstanding fees. And the other matter is a character review. They can hold a hearing and review a character. They don't usually do it. But it might be nice if we asked if they could review per the code, that they review the character of this licensee. Just my thoughts there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I know you've been very diligent on this case, Frank. I appreciate it. Any further comments on this? If none, all those in favor of adopting the letter as amended, please raise your Zoom hands. That's 8 in favor. Any opposed? Any abstentions wishing to be noted? Noting 1 abstention. The motion passes. Thank you very much. What is next? Now I have so many windows open. I'm sorry. I can't see a single thing.
Getting at the expert assistant fund applications.
Expert, yes. Take it away, Commissioner Fay, please.
Just so that the public is aware, we regularly draw who gets to talk about the really exciting stuff, and I always win.
Pause. Sorry, before you go, I just realized that Ms. Stockland has a comment in the chat related to the previous item. Sounds like ABCA is asleep at the wheel in terms of validating applicants. Yikes, this should be raised in those citywide review meetings. Are any commissioners thinking of attending any of those meetings? I think, Courtney, you're referring to performance in the council, which we talked about earlier. Performance review. We're waiting for the schedule to drop. They're meant to start in February, and Commissioner Hanrahan is already eagle eye waiting for that schedule because he has several issues with ABCA. Not the least of which is when is that Salesforce platform going to drop so that we can actually search for things on their website? So yes, never fear, we will be well represented when ABCA goes before the council. Thank you. Sorry about that, Commissioner Fay. Go ahead.
Yep, no, not a problem. So commissioners, I sent you an email earlier in the week, but we're also talking about this in the public meeting as is required by OANC. So there are two funds available to support ANCs in the work that they do that are provided by the district through the office of the ANC. One of those funds is called the Technical Assistance Fund that helps to provide support for things like hybrid meetings. The other, lesser known, is called the Expert Assistant Fund, where ANCs can apply to get resources funding from the government to be able to support expert activities such as zoning review or legal support, etc. We have undertaken a number of different protests this year. One of the things that we are finding in our protests is that the applicants, in many cases, are getting representation very early in the process. And as something goes to an actual protest hearing, which is really kind of a quasi-legal, quasi-judicial process, it's important that the ANC have legal representation through that process, in particular when the applicant has representation. Commissions before us had set aside a allocation of funds, which was $20,000. Those $20,000 were there to support legal activities related to ABCA. At this point, through this the first year of this term, 2025, the commission expended roughly $10,000, which was a combination of legal assistance and advice in a one-off capacity, and then also a fairly significant and involved protest of an establishment seeking a late night operating certificate until 6 a.m. on the 1900 block of 9th Street. That applicant we thought was going to settle. This is all public information because it's on all the ABCA videos, but this applicant we thought was going to settle and said, nope, I want to make sure that I am there to raise specific concerns about another operator on my street that is causing all sorts of difficulty to me and my business. And I want to make sure that the ABCA board hears this. So that was a very kind of involved process. We are now going to a protest we anticipate with that same establishment that this individual was complaining about. And so we anticipate that that is going to be again, fairly involved protest. There is a second one of an establishment that is located on the 2000 block of 14th Street that we are also anticipating is going to be a fairly involved protest. We have received estimates from our ABCA attorney. Sorry, this is a ABCA specialized attorney who does not work for ABCA, but is retained by the commission. And their estimate is that the legal fees would run about $7,800 for each of those two protests, should those two protests go all the way through to a protest hearing. Of course, we're hopeful that we will be able to reach some kind of settlement, but the settlement we're looking for, we don't anticipate will happen outside of an actual protest hearing at this point. OANC allows for us to apply for financial assistance up to $5,000 per application. And so I am proposing that the commission submit two applications. One application would be for $5,000 in support from the Expert Advisory Fund in support of our current protest process with Cloud Lounge, located on the 1900 block of 9th Street and inside of the moratorium zone. The second application for an additional $5,000 would be in support of a protest for YOLO Lounge. The balance of those funds, if we were to be charged $7,800 and we receive $5,000 of assistance, would be charged to our current retainer, which has a balance of $10,000. That would allow us to cover the expenses of both protests and still have a balance remaining as we continue to navigate the rest of our protests in hand. So I wanted to put that forward. The proposal is the submission of two applications. I can pull it up here very quickly. But if you are looking for the definition of dull, you will find it here in the form of an application from the District of Columbia government. This is the application for the Expert Assistance Fund, the EAF. I do need two pieces of information, Commissioner Treasurer Lemon Strauss, and I will work with you tomorrow to get that information. And then I will be providing, in addition, our protest letters, the filing on behalf of the applicant's attorneys, the estimates provided by our attorney, and a brief description about this protest being consistent with the policy position of the commission regarding late night operating hours. I should probably clarify that Cloud Lounge in particular is an establishment that was investigated by ABCA in July of 2025 for selling alcohol after hours. That was taken to the Office of the Attorney General. The Office of the Attorney General reached an offer in compromise, which was the result of a relatively small fine for selling alcohol after hours. And we have, heard from Director Musali that he is supportive of the board taking a more aggressive posture, in particular when there are violations of that sort. And so that is going to be a part of the protest that we are pursuing as we go forward. So I want to pause here, see if there are any questions about the EAF application, the protests themselves. I kind of can only go into so much detail on the protest because, as I said, it's kind of a quasi-legal, quasi-judicial process. And so some of the information still is being developed and researched. But at this point, it is our anticipation that they will be going to protest hearing and that we will be incurring those fees. And then if we don't, we can certainly return those dollars to OANC, and we'd certainly do that. There's no need for us to hold on to money that we don't use for its specifically intended purpose.
Can I kick us off just by saying that I'm so glad this exists? We receive a standard allotment as a commission, and we have a vastly disproportionate number of alcohol licenses. And we can sort of squabble over whether we are protesting too few or too many as a as a ratio of all of them. But for the ones that really matter and are labor intensive and go beyond our core power to deal with and rise to the level of our attorney, I really do think it's very fair that the district government through OANC offers some assistance so that we can make sure we're well represented in these hearings. So kudos for preparing these applications, for discovering this existed. It may have just been my ignorance, but I did not know until a month or two ago that there was an EAF. We've used the TAF before, but I didn't know about the EAF. So I'm very happy to avail ourselves of what's available. Commissioner Holden?
Thanks for explaining all that, Secretary Fay. I will be voting to support the applications, but I just want to I think you going into the detail about why we need money for a lawyer and why we're protesting these two in particular kind of just drives home the point to me that we should be responsible and judicious with taking so many protests. We have a lot of licenses. They take up a lot of bandwidth. We've been talking about alcohol licenses for an hour and 12 minutes. And I think we really, maybe this year we're getting through renewal season, so that'll be done or is done. But we should think hard about getting settlement agreements, not having to go to the hearings if we can get agreements earlier, and not wasting, but not expending so much human capital and actual money on these things when we don't always have to. So I just think if we can think more strategically about that in the future, hopefully we won't have to apply for these things.
Amen. I'm with you.
I want to say a quick thing on that point, which I intended to raise earlier. Sorry, I slipped my mind, which is that Commissioner Hanrahan and I are engaged in a long-running conversation about a priority for the new year being how do we tweak ABCR's processes to move as much leftward in the timeline as we can in terms of engaging with operators early. We were able to do it a few times this year. Thirst, for example, which we're working through right now, we started reaching out to them in August anticipating a likely protest and starting informal conversations. I think that should be the norm, not just a special thing we do with bigger cases. And so Commissioner Hanrahan and ABCR will be working over the next couple of months to, I'm hoping, write some draft SOP language to structure the way it reviews, especially when there's a protest, I'm sorry, renewal season comes up, to try to advance as much of that work as possible and not leave us in this position.
That is definitely the hope. And yeah, we're gonna try and do that. We learned a lot this year, and so I'm imagining this next year will be hopefully a little bit more expedited in terms of taking everyone's time for alcohol licensing, but also ABCR forever. Stay with
Commissioner Sycamore.
Say also thank you, Secretary Fay, for finding these and doing the legwork on the grant work. I mean, this is just, I think, prolific and really great and helpful.
Commissioner
I gotta
Sycamore,
say the best chair of all the committees right there, Hannaran, definitely by far. I don't care who they are, anyone on this call, including Holden, all of them, the best. Hats off to you. Honestly, you've done an amazing job, and you are the man. I really can't believe it. You've done it so well. Sorry, excuse me, Commissioner Sycamore. I apologize.
You're good. No, thank you so much. And Commissioner Fay, thank you so much for doing all this. I mean, you can never have enough money. And just a really quick comment on Commissioner Holden's point. I don't want to kind of give a blanket statement of saying, oh, we need to rush through these things. I think we are doing our due diligence by making sure that everything is in order and doing everything that we can in our power to represent our communities. And I just want to make sure that we have wonderful and good representation. And if that means going out of our way and taking more time, they are laborious. But for someone who just constantly blank wants to approve all liquor licenses, I think it's a little rich for you to make that comment. So just be careful next time, because I think we are taking the time, and especially Commissioner Handerhan and Commissioner Fay are really doing that legwork, and I feel like you're just being a little dismissive of that. So just as a heads up.
Voted for several protests. I just don't vote to protest renewals. That's my ideological stance. I have voted for plenty of protests, so I take umbrage with that.
I don't think I've ever seen it, but that's okay.
All right, before this whole thing devolves, I'm gonna move.
Yeah, please move. Please. I see eyebrows raising. Looks like cats are ready to go. Yeah, let's go.
My eyebrows raised at every comment, so that should be ignored.
It is the witching hour, so let's talk more quickly.
We're not all so lucky to have an expressive face. So let's do this. I'm going to make two separate motions just because we are submitting two applications, and I want to make sure that it's going to be clean. The motion is going to essentially have three parts. We don't need to have any kind of motion on the protest because we have already voted to protest. The first is that we are going to vote to engage legal counsel, that we are engaging them with an estimate of $7,800, and that we are approving the application to the EAF for $5,000. I'm going to add just an addendum that is, if we do not go to protest, that we would seek to return the funds to OANC, and we can always apply for them later. So if that's okay with folks, that's how I'm going to frame it. The first motion is going to be related to our protest of Cloud Lounge on the 1900 block of 9th Street. I move that we engage an attorney in support of our protest activity related to Cloud Lounge, that we accept the estimate that has been provided to us by that attorney for $7,800 for the protest, and that we apply for or approve the application to the Office of the ANC for an EAF fund support of $5,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there further questions? Any debate necessary? Seeing none, I think we can go straight to vote. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. We've got a full house, passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll try to do this as cleanly. The second is related to our protest of YOLO Lounge, that the commission votes to engage legal assistance in relation to our protest of YOLO Lounge, that we accept legal counsel's estimate of $7,800 in support of the protest or to navigate the protest for us, and that we approve the application to the OANC EAF fund in the amount of $5,000. Do I have a second?
There's the second. Debate. Seeing none, we shall vote. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. And it's unanimous once again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Commissioner Fay. Deeply appreciated. Okay, that being said, we may move on. Next item on the agenda is the resolution urging gentle density throughout the District of Columbia. Commissioner Barrio's resolution. I wanted to lead off with a couple notes to the community and commissioners, and make sure that we're all abreast of developments since December. As you know, we tabled consideration of this while an inquiry was going on with Vega regarding Commissioner Barrio. There was a question raised by community members because of Commissioner Barrio's employment. We acted out of an abundance of caution and I think very prudently in waiting to engage in this debate until we had a thumbs up from Vega. We did receive a thumbs up from Vega. Their exact wording was that it does not appear that the conflict of interest rules would require Commissioner Barrio to recuse from participating in the consideration and approval of the proposed resolution. I considered it a very thorough review by their staff attorney. There was subsequently a second inquiry sent to Bega by community member, basically on the same grounds. I spoke with Bega today, and they reaffirmed that their previous advice was still valid. And so for me, I'm satisfied that we can proceed as a commission to having a debate on the resolution. I will say for myself, we were made fully aware by Commissioner Barrio that he does work for the American Enterprise Institute. That was never hidden from anybody. He said it in a commission meeting. He's said it many times in offline meetings about this resolution. So for us to, there was certainly no appearance of any intent to conceal that fact. He's been very candid about it, in fact. So I feel confident moving forward on that front. I also wanted to address some comments that have arisen during committee review and other conversations about this document that suggest that it's inappropriate for our commission to consider a resolution that might primarily have effect on other parts of the district outside our commission area. And of course, it's true that statutorily, our job is to advise the district government on district policy that affects our commission area. I think it's very plain, if you look at this resolution, that it will affect this commission area. Some provisions more than others, certainly, but undeniably there will be an effect. If everything that is suggested by that resolution goes into effect verbatim as it's written, there will be changes tangibly on the ground of our commission area. So, I don't think it's fair to say that this document is solely related to development in other parts of the city and not 1B. The document is written as input to the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan touches the entire city. And there are specifics in here, ADUs, row homes, other things that we certainly have in ANC 1B. So I find it germane. I'm glad that people raised the question. It is important that we follow the constraints of our statutory authority, and I think this fits squarely within them. So those two things being said, I hope we can focus our conversation on the substance of the resolution as opposed to those more procedural aspects. Commissioner Barrio, I don't know if you want to lead us off on your resolution. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how it's evolved over time. We are now on a version number that is very high. I think it's possibly 5. There have been many rounds of review. We were also provided written feedback from both the zoning zoning preservation and development and economic development committees, which commissioners have in their inboxes. So please, if you want to maybe walk us through that a little bit, the evolution of the document is for those who are curious how this is different from what we've seen before.
Sure, yes. So, as many of you know, we have discussed this gentle density resolution at several meetings now. I think it's been to at least three zoning committee meetings, as well as three economic development committee meetings, at least. And the draft has gone through multiple different iterations. I can give some examples of some of the feedback that I've received and some of the changes I've made, but I will say that the draft now is more focused on providing principles for the comprehensive plan. The draft no longer includes provisions that would change historic preservation designations. So it acknowledges that historic preservation continues to apply to all the districts where it exists in DC. The resolution now calls for additional staffing for relevant agencies in order to accommodate an increase in permits of new housing. I did have, sort of a brief opener just to sort of set stage for the resolution that I did want to talk about. I think the resolution is based on, even though there are different provisions, it's based on a very simple idea that DC needs more housing, especially family-sized housing, that it's currently illegal to build in many areas of the district. And I think this is a no-brainer opportunity for us to change DC's next comprehensive plan by including language that will legalize row homes, small homes, easy to build accessory dwelling units, as well as additional units in planning areas that are not meeting their housing targets. DC is historically a row house city. I don't think there's a good reason for 23% of the district to not allow the iconic row houses that we know and love. And I think that the zoning rules that have banned these attached dwellings in many areas of DC have been used to further segregation of the city. And we have an opportunity to advocate for an end to that legacy. By allowing for density like this that preserves neighborhood character, we can add as many as 1,000 units a year that will cost 35% less than the detached homes that they replace. So this is critical given that new housing permits in DC right now are almost entirely for multifamily apartments. DC's not building family-sized housing. And even though, and even despite that, the permits for multifamily housing have fallen off a cliff and are now going to be at the lowest level since the great financial crisis. So this is sort of a dire situation that we're finding ourselves in with the future of housing construction in DC, at least in the short term. So yeah, those are just my comments that I wanted to make. The last thing that I'll say is that this resolution is advisory in nature. The ideas contained within it are intended to influence DC's comprehensive plan, but ultimately this would be implemented by the Office of Planning. It is advisory. They would have to incorporate it into the comprehensive plan, and they would have to do the nitty-gritty work years from now to ensure that permit applications meet specific regulations, development standards, etc. Cities around the country, from Portland, Oregon, to Austin, Texas, to Minneapolis, are implementing reforms like this. And I think that it's, now is the time, given all the work we've done on this resolution, to take a vote, make our voice heard, and show that we want more homes in DC where people can raise a family.
I saw Commissioner Kensick first.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I just wanted to say something before we go into a vote, and I appreciate everything Commissioner Barrow has done. But I want to be clear. Greater Washington promotes what sounds like a terrific message and a mission of inclusivity. And while many of their volunteer and contributors no doubt have their heart and intentions in the right place, it must be known that the GGW is simply a well-organized, developer-backed lobbying organization based in Virginia. Even if one believes in the general agenda they push, it should not be lost on folks that this is DC. And to think a commercially backed lobbying effort that masquerades as a solely grassroots do-gooder organization is just in it to push for affordable housing, that's just it. That's just not the whole story. Please be mindful of this basic fact when talking into account their research and studies, as those may be skewed to further their own agenda and not necessarily purely objective data driven to help us decide what is best for the District of Columbia and its network of neighborhoods, each with its own unique qualities and needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenzek. I saw Commissioner Holden next.
Yeah, so I'm really excited that we're getting a chance to vote on this today. I think Commissioner Barrio has done a lot of great legwork proposing this, working it through the committees, and then creating this final draft here. I agree with everything he said and the spirit of the resolution. And something that I'd like to point out is that one thing this does is not only would create the ability to build new housing in places where we can't currently, but a lot of the housing that we're sitting in right now, my house on Seton Street, a lot of the houses on Seton Street, houses in LaDroit Park, other parts of the neighborhood, based off of the current zoning that exists, those houses and apartment buildings would not be allowed to be built. A huge significant proportion of residential property and other types of property buildings in the city are grandfathered in. Like the current zoning code is stricter than what we were building 100 years ago or at the turn of the century. And I just think it's a little crazy that current zoning would mean if that like certain houses in the neighborhood or certain buildings in the neighborhood were destroyed in a fire or some other catastrophe, they couldn't be rebuilt exactly as they are today. So I think changes to the zoning code to allow for gentle density and a greater diversity of housing types throughout the city is really necessary. So I will be voting for this.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Fay.
And I'm sorry if I didn't say, I will not be voting for this. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me, Commissioner.
All right, let me just go through a couple of quick things. So that, and I'm hoping that we can provide a bit of a framework. The first thing I want to say is that this has come before the Economic Development Committee 3 times. The Economic Development Committee has expressed a great deal of frustration, at least twice, that despite extensive discussion on their part at their meetings, that very little of the draft language that we see tonight has been changed. There is a concern that that time, effort, energy, intellect has fallen on deaf ears, and that Commissioner Barrio is hell-bent on passing a particular version of this resolution without listening to the input of others. I'm excited about having a conversation tonight. I'm excited for Commissioner Barrio to hear the feedback from the community, to hear the feedback of his fellow commissioners, and to think about what revisions may be appropriate to this particular document. I share Commissioner Holden's statement of in spirit. When I hear the spirit of this resolution, as I said a couple of months ago, I find myself supportive. When I look at the actual text, I find myself concerned. And so I am going to ask the chair to take the time that we have tonight to navigate this commission through the text so that we can evaluate the text as it's written, as it will be transmitted, as it will be passed to other commissions for their discussion and for their approval. The spirit of it has a lot of validity. The text of it itself has some areas of concern. The last thing that I'll say, and something that I shared with the commissioners in an email yesterday and was the source of some conversation amongst the Economic Development Committee. As this resolution is written today, there are no requirements for affordability. This is a resolution that allows for additional density to be built. It allows that additional density to be built by right, which means that there is no opportunity for any kind of negotiation or discussion about affordable housing being incorporated into that additional density. This provides a developer the opportunity to buy what is today a 4,000 square foot lot with a single family house, to tear it down and to build 3 to 4 townhomes. And I could argue that there's a lot of merit to being able to do that. I worry a little bit about the free for all, but I also appreciate the value of building additional density and being able to build additional family-sized density. But the last thing I'll share, and I've spent some time on Redfin and Zillow since I started to dig into this particular document, is that I could go into Brookland and I could buy 4,000 square feet of land for about $900,000. I could go to the far northwest and I could buy 4,000 square feet of land for about $5 million. And we need to appreciate that the 23% of parcels or property that is zoned for single family detached dwellings is not just in the far northwest. It's also located in the far southeast. It's located in the far northeast. And when you can purchase the similarly sized plot for a fifth of the value, that's where I think the development's going to happen just purely on economic factors. And so the thing that I worry about is that in the AEI article, in the Greater Washington article, there's a big push about promoting density in parts of the city that don't have density with an almost exclusive focus on the far northwest. When I think about the economic realities, my concern is that single family homeowners in the far northeast and the far southeast are going to be squeezed out, that those properties are going to be converted into more expensive townhomes, and that we will actually see an acceleration of displacement of longtime landholders as a result of this. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to be able to put more townhouses and more density. I think we need to figure out how to do that. But as written, right, back to the spirit versus the text, as written, I'm worried that there are some unintended consequences that could happen. And if this is the jumping off point for a larger discussion around gentle density, ANC 1B, I want to make sure we get it right. And that's my opposition. My opposition is not to the principle. My opposition is to how it's written today and just the worry about unintended consequences. I do believe that there are edits and revisions that can be made that this commission, through its discussion tonight and possibly in the weeks ahead, can make. I don't want to drag this out. It's been on our agenda for a long time. I think there are edits and revisions that we can make, but I think that it does need to be edited before I would feel comfortable with this commission passing it and advancing it to other parts of the city. Thank you. Thank you for the time. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will go to Commissioner Sycamore, and then we have a couple hands in the audience.
Thank you. Commissioner Barrio, thank you so much for all of your work on this. However, I echo both Commissioner Kensick and Commissioner Fay's concerns. I still haven't seen a substantial change in any of the feedback that we've given. We've had a discussion since I believe it was in September, or no, I'm sorry, Veterans Day, so early November, and I didn't see anything of any substantial changes within your resolution. I have a lot of concern about taking away the voices of our constituents. We already have by right in a lot of this area. If we're going to focus on 1B, just across the street from me, which is in Commissioner Lemon Strauss's district, there's two developments going up without any sort of input from the ANC or any sort of public discussion. That is something that really concerns me because we care about our neighborhoods, we care about our streets, and we care about what happens here. And we want to have a voice. I'm not saying that we have to do it all the time. We have to have every single discussion be a hot debate or every new proposal be something that's just absolutely off the wall crazy. But we do need opinions here and we need community input because we live here for a reason. And I just want to echo again, both the commissioners prior to me, this is something we really need to be considered about. And I'm not going to support this until I see some substantial changes that we've already discussed. So yeah, thank you so much.
Miguel, would it be okay if I commented briefly?
Sure.
Okay. I wanted to say, thank you for that feedback, and thank you, Commissioner Fay, for leading the conversations in the Economic Development Committee about the resolution. I was able to sit in on two of them, and I thought they were really interesting. And I think there was a lot to learn there. I will say, I feel like I have made some substantial changes to the resolution based off the feedback I've received, as well as that, I've been, I would say, an open book in trying to receive folks' feedback. I've asked for folks to redline the document, to provide what changes they would like to see in order to get to yes. And I'm, stated very clearly that I'm, always open to talking and trying to revise the document to get to that place with folks. So, I think that the provisions here ultimately are pretty strong. I think they're based on talking with folks. And, I feel like I've really tried to do the work to talk with you guys to figure out, how to make this the best version of the resolution it can be. Um, I did want to speak to just the point about, where will new housing be built? So I think it's important to keep in mind that where land values are high, that is not the area where developers will avoid building. That is where they want to build. High land values signify that there is demand to live in those places. And this isn't just me saying this. This is based off of this happening in other places. In Portland, they did a very similar policy, and they found that neighborhoods that were identified as at risk did not see significant middle housing development. High opportunity areas have historically seen more middle housing and ADU permitting than their share of residential infill project zone lots. A displacement risk analysis also found that the proposal was likely to reduce displacement of low-income renters in single-family homes across Portland. So there's significant evidence based off of case studies and just based off of economic logic that the places where these homes would be built are currently mostly going to be in wealthy enclaves of the city that have seen virtually no new housing development and that would allow for the housing that, like Commissioner Holden pointed out, is already very common in ANC 1B. So I think there's a lot to be gained from advocating for this. I hear the concerns, but I think that, the evidence that's out there based off of what other cities have done shows that this is going to be a net positive for folks throughout DC. But I'm interested in hearing what the rest of the commissioners say and hearing from the community as well.
Appreciate that. I'll go to Commissioner Levin Strauss.
Great, thanks. Really interesting to hear the discussion, and in particular, Commissioner Fay's point about feeling like there's additional edits that haven't made it in there. And so it feels like that lends itself well and naturally to amendments being proposed here tonight. So it sounds like, Commissioner Fay, there have been suggestions coming out of the committee. So I'm hopeful that you're able to bring specifics of those suggestions. I worry about just tabling this for more discussion. It feels like if there's already been so many committee meetings, then this is a good opportunity to bring amendments, and then let's have votes on those. Francois, I think, put that well, but on the economic point, I'm not sure I see the logic in that. We don't have the sort of land value of in DC is about development. We don't have sort of, oil or gold mining to be done. So, the price of empty land is the price that the market has determined can be gotten through development. So it's certainly higher in Ward 3 than it is elsewhere, but that's because the housing stock or the development that would happen would net more. And so I think, assuming the market's operating efficiently, you will get development, equally. To the extent the market's not operating efficiently, it's because of restrictive exclusionary zoning that distorts the market. And that doesn't, and we clearly do not want just a purely unfettered market. But if we're aligned on the goal of more development in places like Upper Northwest, I think we should also be aligned on the goal of allowing the market to operate and people to be able to build housing in places like Upper Northwest. So anyway, it sounds like we've got good alignment on the overall goal. Sounds like there's likely good opportunity to make amendments here, and I'm hopeful that we can bring those forward and then discuss and vote on them.
I really appreciate that you said that, Commissioner. I want to level set with everyone a little bit about the procedure, and we had lots of conversations about this in the past couple of days, about how to handle. This is a meaty topic, and of course, it's only one section of the comp plan, which is like possibly the meatiest of all topics that we could take on and that we're preparing to take on this year. Yes, I associate myself with what you just said, Aaron. This has been through committee several times. Props to the committee members and chairs and Commissioner Barrio for a lot of stamina there. It's entirely possible in my mind that this could go to another round of review, but I did not want that to happen. I didn't want to feel like we're kicking the can down the road without commissioners having their hands actually in this document for a while tonight. So I'm happy to let this debate roll. I'm looking at the clock. I know it's getting a little bit late, but I think we need to be much more actively involved in this document and then start taking ownership of it after quite a few rounds of circling in committees. If we decide that there are technical things that need to be looked at, That's always going to be more efficiently done in a committee. But this has been circulating for quite a while, and I want to make sure commissioners are aware of the provisions of this document as they're being edited. I think we have not had to deal with this yet as commissioners here in the full commission. I think it's important for us to do that for a while tonight. One other note is that the chairs of Transportation, ZPD, and Economic Development are talking about a formation, probably a task force that will set up probably next month to focus specifically on the comp plan. Those three committees are all engaged in the comp plan. We can't have those three committees working unsynchronized, and we probably also can't manage to have them meet jointly. It's just way too many committee members. So we're talking about the right sort of structure for select members of those committees to get together much more frequently than monthly and really dive into the details of the comp plan. So again, that's another venue that we could use to address some of this content, all of this content. That's sort of at the commission's discretion. Again, if we need a small group to study certain aspects of it, but I don't want to keep just deferring and having the circulating committees without commissioners' direct involvement. All of that being said, I'd like to go to a couple community voices if we could. Courtney has been extremely patient with her hand up. You are now able to unmute yourself.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I'm Courtney Stockland. I live on Seton Street. And, as a longtime citizen, I've been living in the swamp for a couple decades, and it's getting swampier. It would be wonderful if our most direct representatives, our ANC reps, if they could be more forthcoming about their conflicts of interest, collusion partners, and kind of to be more liberal about recusing themselves from issues that affect their own pocket. Working at an organization like AEI and then referencing a piece of, quote, research from a lobbyist group with no sense of irony, and then being further cagey with the committee. I'm not sure how we're even still wasting the time of the ANC and the public with this. I really appreciate Commissioner Fay's perspective. Very wise, thinking through the immediate proposal in terms of real world incentives and consequences like displacement, which I often see pushed to the wayside when we're talking about development. I've seen that happen on Seton Street in other ways. It does affect a community in a negative way. And, Chairman Duramo's multi-committee approach to the comp plan, that makes a lot more sense. Something this specific, no offense, I feel like it's a little bit beyond the ANC's purview. And it just doesn't feel like it's an appropriate fit for the ANC. I think taking the multi-committee approach is more balanced, holistic, helpful, and hopefully you get away from some of these either perceived or real conflicts of interest that really kind of muddy the water for folks. I don't know if it's age or I've just been here a long time or I've just started to pay more attention to development and zoning. I used to not really give any heed to folks discounting DC's government as, corrupt or, that sort of thing. But I have to say, the more attention I pay, I get more disillusioned by it. And it starts with little things like this. Thanks very much for your work.
I appreciate that. Thank you. The only thing I want to respond quickly to, and maybe others will too, is to reiterate the point that I made at the very beginning, that I don't see this as outside our scope. We're definitely seized of the matter of the comp plan, and we will be providing robust feedback not only about these matters, but everything that the comp plan encompasses. So on that point, I think we're on safe ground to be engaging here. Let's go to Arlene, please. You are able to unmute.
Yeah, good evening. Oh, it was a long meeting. I'm getting really, really tired. But I did want to point out that the Economic Development Committee did spend a long time debating this and discussing it. A lot of good comments came out of it, and they were very, very engaged. And at the end of the day, they did not support this resolution. And I think that should be a guiding light for the entire ANC, because as you said, Chair Duramo, the whole ANC really has not dug into this as much as the Economic Development Committee. So I really think the whole ANC should be mindful of all the discussions from the committee and community members that went into the Economic Development Committee meetings. And I also want to address the issue of affordability. It's come up before. The resolution, as it's written now, is focusing more on density. And it kind of lightly touches on affordability, but there's nothing in the whereas clause, I'm sorry, there's nothing in the resolution clauses about guiding or guaranteeing affordability. There's the by right aspect of this whole resolution will provide no guardrails at all about the issue of affordability. And I kind of take issue with what Commissioner Barry has said, that developers will be very interested in wealthy areas because the values are higher. Well, yeah, they're going to build there, but they're going to build more expensive units. And there's no affordability guarantees there at all. And so the affordability factor is really important. And of course, that leads to diversity, because then you're just going to lose the diversity that already exists, and it's diminishing as we speak. So I think that's all I wanted to say. The affordability, the by right, no guardrails at all on that, and the resolution as it exists now, it's very, very weak, and it favors developers, and it does not favor the community at all. I would like to reiterate what Commissioner Sycamore said about we really need to think about our communities and their input. We have to make sure that there is input from our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. Francois, can I call on you actually to respond to that question? It's also been raised in the Q&A, and I think maybe Commissioner Fay as well, about the notion of protecting affordability and not being able to write that into an agreement, or even to negotiate a CBA, for example, right? That's been a concern raised a few times, that by right development would bypass those types of tools. How do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think affordability is front of mind for me as well. And in writing this resolution, trying to have housing at lower price points and lower rents is really important. And that's one of the big reasons why I introduced the resolution. So, as I stated before, basically the current status quo is that you have one home on one lot. It's a single family detached home. The land is very expensive, like was pointed out by Commissioner Lemon Strauss, because not much new housing is built in those areas, and they're very desirable areas to live in. And so what we're trying to allow is to have, rather than just one unit of housing on that lot, you have multiple units, and each unit now takes a smaller portion of very expensive land. And so that brings down the cost of those houses. And like I mentioned earlier, the expected cost of those houses is 35% less than the homes they are replacing. So these homes are significantly more affordable than the homes that are currently available in many of the most desirable neighborhoods in DC. In terms of, community benefit agreements or affordability requirements, I think that those are certain tools that can be used. I don't think they make the most sense in terms of small scale infill conversions, because if you think about building an ADU, building a duplex, building several townhomes, if you add an affordability requirement, those projects simply aren't going to happen because they aren't going to pencil, because we haven't seen that happen in other places. You can talk about other systems, I would say, with larger multifamily developments and trying to compensate those folks. But what we're talking about here is a lot of small projects happening with smaller scale developers who are going to enter this and have honestly never done this before because it hasn't really been possible in the area. And so I think that it's important to keep in mind that in a place like Seattle, they had a similar program like this. They were basically allowing for this type of missing middle gentle density. And they were building lots of housing. That housing, the number of units they were building was increasing. And when they added a requirement that required, I believe, 20 or 30% of those units to be significantly lower rent, and they provided no compensation for the people who were trying to build those homes, the new permits collapsed. So I think it's important to think about what can we do to actually get new housing, and when we get that new housing, what is the price? And I think that this proposal is very important for getting new housing at a lower price point and having it actually be built rather than, just talking about it.
I appreciate that response. Thank you. I see Mike Hewling, go ahead.
Thank you everyone for all the time on this. With many of the other people who spoke, I have a lot of kind of disagreement with the text that's put in place. I like the idea of the spirit, kind of with Commissioner Fay. I think there's a lot of good intent here. I will say that if you do not get the text, I said this way back when, if you do not get the text completely right, developers will run over this. They'll take every loophole, every by right they will. Every good intention on this one will be just a handout to developers. And I cannot stress the fact that the text has to be spot on. And, I hear a lot of, this is, part of like Ward 3 or the more, kind of favorable areas of DC. I'm still not really seeing why this is applicable to 1B. I know, Miguel, Chair, you've mentioned that a few times, but I really have a lot of concern about this on a lot of levels. If you don't get the text right, I mean, that is the big thing. If you do not get the text right, you are literally just setting unfettered access to developers all across the city. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We have a few more hands from the community. Debbie Hanrahan, you can unmute yourself.
Any relation to Commissioner Hanrahan?
Not that I believe, but
Deb,
name.
Go ahead, Debbie. You're unmuted. Debbie, we can't hear you. We'll circle back around. I show that you're unmuted, but we can't hear you speaking. Patrick Nelson, you can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Excuse me. Two things. One, Francois, I know that I addressed this with you before, but I just want to get your input on this again. Have you reached out to any other ANCs or any of the council members themselves to get feedback as to whether they are pro, con, or neutral on this issue? I think I know I addressed that with you before, but I don't know if it's actually ever been answered. And I also want to just touch base just briefly on the affordability thing. That word is a word when it comes to how people look at affordability and how they deal with it. The zoning code written as it is has caveats for affordability built in to certain zones already. And the issue that we have now is that certain developers will work around that code so that they don't have to do affordability. And one example is that in RF1 zone, if you build more than 4 units in a building, which you can do, you have to go to the zoning commission to get approval to do that. The 4th unit becomes an affordable unit, and then every successive other unit becomes affordable. So what they're doing is just building units that have 3 units so they don't have to do affordability. And most of the affordable units that are being built now are being built in large tract buildings that are apartment buildings or condo buildings. So we have to be careful about how we talk about affordability. It's a huge issue, and I'm a huge proponent of it. I've been that for a long time, but I think we have to understand how it is applied currently within the code and how it would be applied in future changes to the comp plan or the code itself.
I guess to quickly address Your first point, Patrick. So I have not spoken directly with a council member about this proposal. My hope was to have a discussion at the neighborhood level, and then, my ideal goal was to pass the resolution and then go to other commissions and council members to bring forth the views of the commission. Um, so yeah, that was my plan. But I definitely agree that it is important, and I do want to speak with everyone that I can about this resolution. And I really, am hoping to put these ideas into the public consciousness so that we can really think about them as we develop the comprehensive plan, because I think it is really important to have family-sized housing in DC. As you mentioned, with respect to affordability, and as I mentioned, I think earlier, right now, DC is building almost exclusively multifamily housing. So they're building apartment buildings. We need apartment buildings, but we're not building any family-sized homes. We're not building new townhomes, row homes, quadplexes, ADUs. They're just not happening. And so I guess my question for folks is, if this is not the right solution, then what is the right solution to make this housing happen? Because just from my perspective, and I think from a lot of other folks looking around the country, what's been successful has been doing this. And so I'm curious what the alternative would look like in order to get more family-sized homes in DC.
Thank you for that.
So,
Mike,
sorry,
I'm sorry, I
can I
didn't
just
notice.
say, that
Yep.
I think that is a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous question that should be discussed, right? 100%. Like, I agree, Francois, with what you're saying. There is definitely a problem on the table, and I think it needs to get sorted through. So I'm completely with you on that.
Sounds good.
Mike, sorry, I didn't know if your hand is still up from before, or did you have a response?
Mute me. Hi, can I speak?
Who's that? Oh, Debbie, sorry. Yes, if your microphone's working, we hear you loud and
Right.
clear.
Right. A couple of things. I think the process is too far is very important. The great weight of the ANC must be always preeminent. You cannot just wing something and then it becomes the law of the land. It has great weight. It is sewn around the neck of everybody who wants to talk about something. You are told, I'm sorry, the great weight has already been decided on this issue. The ANC has taken a position. End of discussion. I have seen this again and again. You should have something very well developed and well considered. And I would love to see some low and moderate income folks comment on this approach. AEI and Greater Washington are pro-developer. They are concerned about the developer side of things and their problems, not the side of the community, and the effect of the displacement in the community, and the effect of having a community where your policemen and your firemen and your teachers can come and live. We are quickly losing all the people that make the city run because the idea of affordable housing. When you give a piece of land the value to build 4 units or 6 units or whatever on it, you are increasing the value of that land. To ask the owners then to give back with some affordability is not to hurt them. It is to have them share in the transaction. They are being given a great deal of wealth in this process, and yet the city has a huge shortage of affordable housing. How do you get it back? when you increase the value of the land and allow so much more to be built on it, the city has a right to claim back some help with its affordable housing problem. So you attach some affordability. Now, we know the city is not great on oversight. It doesn't seem to follow through on much of anything. Its inclusionary zoning program is a bust. So I'm a little skeptical, but I would love to hear, before you have this great weight given to this idea, I would love to hear some folks who work in affordable housing, some of the nonprofits, some of the church groups. Does this work from their experience? I mean, after all, they've been trying to do this for many, many years. And I think that they should be welcome into the discussion. This is a hard business. You can't intuit how to do this right. I must say, I'm a little put off by the fact that the two very conservative groups who I have read correspondence between saying that they expect to work in 7 and 8 and 6. They're not talking about 1, 2, and 3. But they are talking about political support for this all over the city because they know that's how they're going to get it. But they don't expect to be working all over the city. There will be enormous displacement if you go ahead without any, as Arlene Feskinich said, without guardrails and really thinking about what you're doing. You can cause a great deal of harm and make a lot of money for people who don't even live in the city. And I'm sorry to be so harsh because I think as Matt Fay has said, the spirit is good, but this is a very hard subject. This is a hard nut to crack. And the city has failed and isn't even trying. And I want to commend you for your attempt, but I'm also very wary about where it's coming from. It's pro-developer as opposed to pro-community. And God knows, if we want to keep the city the viable, interesting, lively place that we all chose and moved into, we cannot allow this to happen as you have written it.
Thank you, Debbie. I want to press pause for a quick second. There were still a couple questions in the Q&A about the ethics question and the advice that we received from Bega. The email that Bega sent, the determination letter sent to Commissioner Barrio in December, is on our website. I put a link to it in the chat. It was just the easiest way to distribute it. So that's available for everyone to review. There are a few more comments in the Q&A. I just want to read them into the record really quickly. Brian says, I want to ask this commission to consider deferring action on this resolution owing to a lack of review of the untoward consequences of by right development of properties into fourplexes, for example. As you may know, several of your constituents have raised concerns that if this resolution were adopted district-wide, the greatest impact would be felt in wards 5, 7, and 8. Praise for Commissioner Kenzek, praise for Commissioner Fay. Additional comment. One of the principal reasons that some areas are in demand are proximity to schools and proximity to transportation and higher paying jobs. Currently, public schools in many areas of the city are over capacity and underfunded. Unemployment is headed up. How will the new comp plan ensure that planning goes into staffing and growth of schools? That's sort of a broader question. Maybe some of our in-house experts about the comp plan want to make reference to it. We frequently hear an objection that if we add more density in a neighborhood, there are not the services to support it, whether that be fire, EMS, police, or schools, or DPW. So if somebody wants to work that into a response somewhere about how the city maybe thinks about planning and scaling up those services with a growing population, if we should be so lucky, that would be appreciated. Praise for Mike Hewling's comments. And final comment here, the proposal also says nothing about infrastructure to keep up with the change of density. Schools in particular will be an important element of this discussion to the thing I just asked about. So maybe somebody can address that in remarks. I see Commissioner Hanrahan, please go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to second what Commissioner Lemonstrauss said. Just wondering if anyone has any amendments to this they would like to propose in terms of language.
I am curious to hear, what the specific provisions are that people would like to see in the resolution.
I would really like to ask, actually, and I know this has been going around a couple times, to again table this again. Let us have some discussions. Let the public email us with what exactly they want, and then we can maybe have a formal or informal meeting with you to discuss some of the details and the things that we want, or send it up into an email. I think we're not on a time crunch here, so I'm very hesitant to rush this or push this through. So I would rather take the time to get it right and have everybody on the same page. I think as a commission in general, we tend to be fairly unanimous on a lot of things. And the fact that the public and us are quite divided tells us that we need to take our time with this. And I don't want to rush this through and just get it through tonight. I would like to take more time for it.
I've mentioned since the beginning of this debate that it's certainly possible that this needs to go back for more technical work in a focused setting. I'm sensitive to that. I also don't want that to be an excuse for things not to get done. Commissioner Sycamore, you mentioned the day that we all went and sat outside. That was in November, early November, mid-November. Talk about this document. It went to ED. There were extensive comments in December. We're now a month after that meeting. So I would strongly prefer that if this is going to be referred to another committee, that there be a firm commitment of commissioners to meet on the sideline. In addition to another committee meeting, I think we need to commit to seeing each other outside the four walls of our office here, and get some real work done, because we can't do amendments one by one in the
Yes.
commission, I think, efficiently ever.
And I agree. I mean, you and I have met, Commissioner Fay and I have met, Commissioner Kensick and I have met, Commissioner Handerhan and I have had a brief conversation about this. But at the end of the day, though, it is Commissioner Barrio's resolution, and to make the effort to talk to us is ultimately on him. We do have issues, but obviously there's no consensus on this. So if there's not a lot of consensus on this, then we need to find a way to do that, and that's primarily, I believe, on Commissioner Barrio. So let's work with him and his schedule so we can get this done.
Let's go to Commissioner Holden.
Yeah, so I think there's been a lot of discussion about this resolution. We've been working on it in various forms, together and individually and at committees for months. And I think some people are never going to be comfortable with it. And I think that's okay. I think we can vote against things. I think we can vote for things. I'm very pro this. Commissioner Barrio is very pro this. Not everyone's going to be. And I agree with the chair that if we continue to push it along, I think that is just potentially, then there's never any resolution, right? Like, I'm more comfortable with voting on something and people taking a stand than deferring and deferring and deferring, and then it keeps coming back up. It's very nebulous. If it doesn't get voted on, if it fails today, then it fails, fine. But if it passes, obviously I would prefer that. I think I personally would rather vote on it. And then if it, then we all know how everyone feels. I don't think we have to have 100% consensus.
I'm not saying that it has to be 100% consensus. It's pretty obvious that there is no consensus on this. So I think in order for us to come to a consensus, and because there is no timeline, or at least a very long timeline, we can take the time to do this and get it right. And it's a disservice to our constituents if we don't do that.
I would say
and I'm jumping right my place in line, and I apologize. The comp plan timeline has kind of exploring possible futures, which is basically them resetting the definitions of language that they use through March of 26. Creating the plan starts in April of 26 and runs until June of 27. So there is a lot of time to put it in. I am with Commissioner Holden that you can only kick this down the road so many times, and at some point we have to take a stand. I am happy to propose specific edits to the language and background on each of those edits related to what the Economic Development Committee put together. I can't do that tonight. But I would also say that if we do want to vote on it tonight, I think we need to go through the language, the text of the resolution itself, and we need to make sure that we stand behind it. And I'll just give one example that I gave to the commission the other day, which is if we are going to declare that single-family detached housing is definitively exclusionary zoning, even though 2/3 of that sits in the far northeast and the far southeast, we got to be prepared for what that means and what the community hears from us. So I'm happy to vote on it tonight, but only if we go through it together and everybody says, I see exactly what I'm voting on.
Can I make
the quickest of direct responses?
Yeah, well, it's just a kind of a technical point about kind of at least how I see exclusionary zoning. So there is the term exclusionary zoning, I think, could be seen as like an inverse of inclusionary zoning that is referring to affordability, right? Like, so inclusionary zoning, it has set income targets that they're trying to do. Exclusionary zoning could also mean it's very expensive housing, right? But I think from a practical standpoint and how a lot of like zoning people use it, or land use people, when they use the term, they're actually talking about structures and building types and housing typology. When someone says exclusionary zoning, they mean it's like R1A, for example, like the least dense single family zoning in the city. That excludes all other uses, all other housing types. So in an R1A zone, you can't have potentially an ADU, you can't have a duplex, you can't have a attached row house. It excludes any type of other building type or form. So I think it's easy to get tripped up on that and think like, oh, well, we're saying single family zoning and what Ward 8 or 7 is exclusionary. It is from a housing typology standpoint, from a what can be built there standpoint. So I just, that's just like a technical point that I think is important to kind of frame the conversation.
One quick additional comment. I think Wards 7 and 8 have gotten brought up several times. To be clear, Wards 7 and 8 are primarily zoned RA1, which is residential apartment, as well as R2. So in many ways, those wards already have gentle density. They have attached structures. They allow for more varied types of structures, like Commissioner Holden was saying, than the R1 zoning. Sorry, yeah, the R1 zoning that is very prevalent in upper Northwest. So I do think it's a bit of a misnomer to say that the zoning is the same between the two. There are far more structures that are allowed in Wards 7 and 8 than are allowed in Wards 3 and 4 right now. And so, it is important to say that right now, in large swaths of DC, primarily the wealthiest neighborhoods where there is highest demand to live, you can only have a single family detached home on a large lot relative to DC. And that is very expensive. And so I think it's really important for us to think about, while there are different provisions of this resolution, this is not actually a complex idea. This is saying that we should allow for more types of housing to be built in a way that they are already constructed throughout DC and are already constructed in some of the wards that have been referenced.
But who's going to regulate that? Who's going to regulate what houses and what sizes and which people that own these big corporations that are going to come in and collaborate and take these lands and decide what they're going to do with it? I mean, so back to Commissioner Sycamore's point, I think there's been some outreach out. Everyone's done tons of emails. We all get tons of emails. I get about 100 a day in work and probably 200 here in the commission. Maybe it'd take a point to maybe pull a couple commissioners aside that are in the opposing view, sit with some of the constituents, listen to the people. The people have obviously spoken. For them to stay on the phone until I don't know what time, 11 o'clock at night, and have obviously concern about this. And I will say again, for the record, whether Bega says it or not, although I agreed with them when they represented me, and I thought they were exactly right on point with everything they did when this old commission tried doing their shenanigans. But with this case, I got to tell you, I think they're deeply wrong.
Chair, I think this is inappropriate. Point of order. I think it's inappropriate, and I don't think we should be besmirching other commissioners like this. Alan, I would stop.
I agree.
Okay, thank you. I will say this. I think it's fair for a point for him to sit with all of us instead of sending an email, and for us to all discuss and have an open forum for other people to bring up these opinions and get into the point so they can understand this more. Because I don't think that just by getting something from Vegas saying that this person or this is allowed to be, I think that it can obviously distill the waters a little bit. And I think the comments and the things I'm reading and the concerns are concerning to hear. And I think we have to pay attention to that. And I think it's only fair to the people that elect us into office. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
That's fine. I appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, I want to be clear that Vega is the only arbiter we have of that kind of question. And they gave us a pretty definitive response. The information that you learn, that about his employer and whatever is something you still can take into account. It's not like you're a jury and you're being instructed that you can't take, unhear that evidence. But I think we were very prudent in making sure that Vega didn't have an issue with this discussion continuing with Commissioner Barrio participating.
Right.
I think he's been very forthright about, the line of work he's in and what's informed his thinking. So let's leave it at that. What I'd like to do right now is just hear from the people who've had their hands up patiently. I would ask the secretary if we could do a 1 minute timer, if I can use some of my discretion as chair. Just like to go through them on a quick lightning round, capture some final comments. I think we're coalescing around the sense that there is more work to be done, but I really want to insist that that needs to come with a commitment from commissioners to do some work outside the normal hours and meet informally. If we decide I mean, I'm leaving this in your hands. I'm not dictating what happens, but if we decide to table this for more work to be done, which we've done before, I would expect to see significant progress by the time the committee of the whole meets at the end of this month. And then we can consider whether this comes up again in February, and we can also decide at the committee of the whole meeting how this process interacts with the comp plan task force and the committee work. I want to make sure all that stuff is in sync. That all said, let's do, please, if we could do 1 minute on the clock, and we'll do final comments. I'll start with Brian, who hasn't spoken yet, but's been active in the chat. Brian, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Chair DeRamo. I would just say I am a Ward 4 resident. Janice Lewis George is my council member. I currently sit as a member of the Racial and Social Equity Committee on ANC 3A34G. From my perspective, I support this ANC in its leadership. And the previous meeting I attended, the chair recognize the opportunity to coordinate amongst ANCs. And I think the vitality, the youth in this ANC resonates in other ANCs around the city. So I think this is an important initiative. From my perspective, I'll just say that, I moved to where I am because of the diversity we do have. Our daughter ended up, going to high school and partying with Sasha Obama, not because they went to the same school, because they didn't, but because they found each other's parties at their houses. I think what you're trying to go for in terms of new ownership in multifamily houses could be really significant, but I don't think you've quite gotten there in terms of the framework. Instead of matter of right, some way to get accelerated approval for a zoning exception, I think could work. That's just my view. And I think one thing I would ask is whether or not the racial and social equity lens has been applied here in the way that it probably needs to be to understand the implications from the racial and social equity perspective. That's all I've got.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Let's go to Janet. You can unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, I'm adjusting the timing to 2 minutes because that seems kind of what it takes to get comments.
Janet McMahon. You can unmute. Okay, let's come back around.
Okay, I
Chris,
just did. I just did.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Yep,
I
go
just want
take
to
it away.
make a quick observation, which is that nobody who opposes really even the motion is against more affordable housing or more dense housing or anything. It's just, for me, the issue is the by right aspect of it, and that the community is being locked out, and the zoning commission is doing the same thing. So that is my concern. I have one of my closest friends lives in an ADU. I lived in Portland for 20 years. I'm in favor of these kind of proposals, but I'm not in favor of doing them by right. That's my comment. Thank you.
Just a quick question. Portland, their residential infill program, which allows for this type of housing, up to 4 units per lot, is by right. So I'm curious, did you support that program, or are you against that program as well in Portland?
My only observation is that I do not think that the wealthier parts of Portland, the Southwest Hills, changed their character very much. The neighborhoods that were changed were African American communities in Northeast and other lower income areas. That is my experience.
What you invested in the speakers, I invested that.
Thank you very much. Chris, I hear you are unmuted. You can go ahead.
Hi, Commissioners. This is Chris Otten. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
If I had the money, I would put it on the poly market that the ongoing omission of commissioner and community feedback in this proposed resolution is not a technical oversight. As more, I think, a signal to the conflict of interest that's been raised. You know, at a certain point, that starts to feel like less like deliberation, more like very polite. We heard you, Loop. Next. Commissioners, look, there's a deep irony here. A resolution suggesting policy that's framed as dismantling exclusivity in wealthy neighborhoods, but that is far more likely to tear down existing family-sized homes and communities in Northeast DC and east of the river and replace them with less affordable, smaller unit housing. I don't think that's something you all want to be tied to. Decreasing stability in these more vulnerable communities is not something we need to see happen. This is a reminder, we all probably know 60,000 Black neighbors across the city have been made gone from their homes over the past 20 years. 1 in 4 Black residents gone from Ward 1 just in the last decade. Simultaneously, we're at a moment right now, according to Urban Turf a couple days ago, DC area is leading the national average in vacancies. In all seriousness, the whereas clauses probably need a serious look, maybe a complete overhaul. As I've noted in the prior meetings I've attended, I don't think commissioners realize that one of the links is tied to market data from RealPage, a company currently being sued by the Attorney General's office for facilitating rent price fixing. That's in the Pew report. The resolution also heavily links to AEI's housing framework that prioritizes deregulation, but does not, and here's the rub, does not prioritize affordability or anti-displacement outcomes. That context matters because the frameworks don't meaningfully account for displacement pressure, cumulative harm when applied citywide. So as Janet said, it's the buy right position really in this resolution that would eliminate ANC commissioner review citywide on these types of projects, even if the projects have value, right? And we can't pretend removing zoning controls and negating community engagement without tying that added density to meaningful affordability or family size housing is a neutral progressive act. We know who the primary beneficiaries will be, and that's speculative investors. So what will move the needle? This is the part I think everybody has been trying to get at, some ideas. And we've been saying them over and over. Real quick.
Yep, time is up.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just conclude with these ideas, and you can...
Chris, let me ask you this, because you've been a great contributor at the economic development. Are you adding new information from economic development?
Perhaps. Just the explicit additional density by right be explicitly tied to deep affordability, like 30 to 50% AMI units, to advise that any density bonuses be require family size units, right? And that that the community review and ANC input be preserved, especially in neighborhoods already experiencing displacement pressure.
Great.
Right. So
Thank
words for okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Well, and look, let me just conclude on this though. Look, if we're serious about dismantling exclusion, we should be talking about expanding social housing, community land trusts, and public land development that keeps permanently affordable housing in communities intact. So I would
Thank you,
like
Chris.
to. Okay, thank you. Guys.
Appreciate it. Certainly not mutually exclusive, I think, with many of the goals that we're talking about in this document. Let's do really quickly. Debbie and Arlene, I'm not sure if your hands are still left up from before. I'm sorry. You can both. Arlene, you want to go first if you want to unmute yourself, if you have a final comment, very briefly.
Those were from before.
They've been up for a minute.
Commissioner Sycamore has his hand up as well.
I see him there. I'm coming to him next. Debbie, Arlene, final chance, going once, going twice. Okay, Commissioner Sycamore, I see your hand.
Public comments are all done?
Yep.
Okay.
I apologize. I had my hand up and I accidentally hit the down, so I do have a public comment.
Please go ahead, if that's all right by chair.
Yep.
Sorry about that. I must have accidentally hit it off. I want to just, I think it was Chris who just raised it, the vacancy. That was another point I wanted to make before. There's a ton of vacant properties in DC, which are easier and more affordable for developers to reinvest that property and a lot of homes into the district. So I don't understand why that wouldn't be a priority to get kind of more houses there without having to change any of the zoning laws. So that's, I'm a little bit muddled on that in terms of why we might make that a first priority. And then also in terms of that, again, just you have to get the wording right. The by right, I mean, that seems like a very like loose cannon that developers can run with. I know everyone's intent is good-hearted. I get that. But getting this right is so important. I cannot stress it enough. You are otherwise just give developers a free hand to do whatever, and that would be displacing residents here and there. Like even if Francois, if the vast majority of development goes where you think it's going to go, there will still be developers that displace good low income housing and long-term residents in places you don't want. So just get the wording right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Final, Commissioner
real quick,
Lemon-Strauss.
Chair. Actually, I got a call. Both Arlene and Deborah both said they were trying to speak and they were not unmuted. So I think if we can let, I know Arlene for a fact would like to say something because she just called me. So if we can let her speak, she said she had her hand up and she was not unmuted.
Yep, Arlene, you can unmute.
Okay, I got the unmute.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Just a point of clarification, when Commissioner Holden said something about Seton Street, I'll remind him that Seton Street is within a historic district, so this resolution is excluding historic districts. So that was one thing. And I want to reiterate what Debbie Hanrahan had to say about listening to other groups who have been working very, very hard and for very many years on affordable housing issues. I don't think this commission has heard from them maybe at all. So I think we need to reach out more to the community and to those groups in particular. And I wanted to ask Commissioner Barrio if he took a look at all at the Cambridge solution. This was something that Patrick Condon, who has been working in affordable housing issues for a long time, he spoke at the Committee of 100, maybe, I forget, sometime last year, but he brought up this solution that Cambridge, Massachusetts had. They said, okay, we'll increase density, but all the new units have to be affordable. I wanted to know if he looked at those those kind, because you can't just cherry pick studies. Thank you.
If you don't have a direct response to that, I'll go to Commissioner Lemon-Strauss really quickly, final comment, and then Commissioner Sycamore will land the plane to you.
Great. So it sounds like we're delaying this. I'm hopeful that the conversation next time can be a little more productive because my meta review of the last hour has been that everyone expresses a lot of similar goals around adding affordable housing and being able to welcome more neighbors. But there is a proposal on the table, and I haven't heard other proposals. And so then it makes the conversation very hard because then you end up just having conversations where you say things like, make sure you get the wording right, which I don't think anyone would dispute. Or you say things like, don't displace neighbors, which again, no one's going to dispute. And so it's very hard to have a debate about things that sort of generally people don't disagree about. I'd sort of rather people disagree. I'd sort of concrete things to disagree about. So one thing I just heard, which I think is great, is this resolution doesn't do enough to include sort of forced affordability through inclusionary zoning or whatnot. That feels like a concrete thing we could debate. You know, there could be an amendment that proposes that requirement and we could debate that. So I guess my ask on a personal level is that when everyone has done their homework and we come back next meeting on this, that then the sort of grounds of that conversation are grounded in specific proposals and that those proposals assume good faith. Just speaking as one person, if your argument is someone here is operating in bad faith or is in someone's pocket, I have a hard time listening to your arguments because they're not arguments that are grounded in wanting to make more affordable housing for our neighbors. And so I hope that when we come back next month, it can be grounded in here's one vision, here's one proposal, here's one set of language, here's one set of clauses, and then let's debate A versus B versus C versus whatever.
absolutely where we're trying to get for sure. And I think Commissioner Fay said that he would love to introduce some. It is 10:30. We are not going to introduce those tonight. So I think it sounds wise to take some
I'm
time
sorry.
to formulate those. Let me read the
Do
final
it.
comment that I'm going to read out of the
All right.
Q&A. Sorry, just so we
All
clear
right.
the screen of them. Suggest citywide policy changes without looking at the potential harms of that kind of deregulation seems ill-advised at best. Worse, it appears almost wholly in service to people who don't have many ties to DC besides as an investment commodity and speculation. Closing the comments for tonight, if I can. Commissioner Sycamore, your patient hand.
Awesome. Three really quick things. One, members of the public, please email us. Let us know your thoughts. I think Commissioner Lemon Strauss had a great comment and a great observation that there are no alternatives. We do have alternatives. We just don't have them formally written out right now at this point. A lot of it's just kind of floating around in our heads. And I think that's a really important point that Commissioner Lemon Strauss has really stressed, that we do need to have other options and other alternatives for us to discuss other than this is bad. So please, if you have opinions, if you have thoughts on this, please let us know and CC me, CC all of us, make sure that we're all involved. Number two, I was thinking about maybe possibly if the commission would want to possibly do any sort of special meeting on this that focuses specifically on this issue, since it does seem to be such a hot issue. We've done this before with the Reeves Center, if that's a possibility.
I think we should use existing committees for that. We don't need to have a special meeting for this.
I mean, I think we are quite in a hot topic right now, so I think that's.
I think it's tight, my friends.
Keep it tight, my friends.
I think there's an argument for it. And then my last one is I'd like to call a motion.
You may.
I'd like to call a motion to table this resolution until our meeting in February.
I hear that. I'd like us to have the explicit and firmly held conviction that we will do some work but by the time of the committee of the whole meeting at the end of the month. And I don't know who wants to sort of act as lead negotiators here. I leave that up to you guys to self-organize, and I'll be very plugged into this process too. I'd like someone to take point though on providing some kind of significant progress report by the committee of the whole as a condition of this motion. Is there a second to the motion to table?
I was planning to make a motion to vote on the resolution. I think it's important, given all the discussion we had tonight, that we do get a vote on the record. I think it's very important. And I just think that, we discussed this for several meetings, and I'm happy to continue to work with folks, if the resolution does not pass. But I do think it's really important for us to say whether or not we support the language that we've reviewed for a very long time.
We have not reviewed the language.
Point of order, Chair. Point of order, Chair.
That's fine.
Motion was
we're
made
not
by
in.
Secretary.
We're not in. I understand. We're not in debate.
Well, Jamie Sycamore, he made a motion and I seconded it. So that's already a second on the floor.
That's fine. We can. There's a second on the motion to lay on the table. The motion is not debatable, so we move right into voting procedure. All those in favor, please with your Zoom hands, the motion to table the resolution. Please raise your hands now. All those opposed, please raise your hands. Actually, please lower your hands if you voted. Thank you very much. All those opposed to the motion to table, please raise your hands.
Are we tied?
There being 4 in favor and 4 opposed, the motion fails. We are still in debate.
So, picking up where we left off, I understand that many folks have a lot of thoughts about the resolution. I feel as if we have done extensive work at the committee level and at the commission level to discuss the resolution. I think it is worth taking a vote, and so I'm going to make a motion that we pass the general density resolution as it is written. I think it is important for us to do that vote and then to proceed from there, knowing, I think it's important to have this culminate in some sort of decision that we make at this meeting so that further decisions can be made down the road if need be. But I think that we have talked about it extensively, and this resolution has received more attention than I think any other resolution ANC 1B has passed otherwise.
It is
So
the most
I do
controversial that this commission has reviewed, at least in this term.
This term,
sure.
wait till
But-
bikes come back.
Sure, but I think that
In 3
the
terms.
resolution has received a lot of attention and a lot of scrutiny, and we've looked at the language many times. The language has been available and has virtually not changed over the last month. So I do think it is important that rather than voting on this at the next meeting, we vote on it at this meeting. And if it needs to be voted on at the next meeting again, then that's just how it has to be. But I do think it is important for, after all this many months, that we do actually take a look at the resolution.
It's a motion to call the question,
Second.
which forces us immediately to close debate and moves us into voting procedure. Call the question requires 2/3 for adoption. The motion has been seconded. All those in favor of calling the question, once again, meaning close debate and vote on the resolution itself, please raise your hands. Four in favor, all those opposed, please raise your hands. With 4 in favor and 3 opposed, the motion does not carry. Debate is still open.
So can we make, to the spirit of what Francois was just trying to accomplish, can we make a motion to vote on it, not to call the question?
You can call to vote, and then we're going to have to discuss, and then I will do my proposed amendments based upon the Economic Development Committee meeting where we voted unanimously, not unanimously, there was one person that voted to support it. Right. So I mean, we can go into that, right? But I think that we are. I mean, look, Commissioner Barrio, I appreciate the focus that you've had on this. I appreciate the time that has been spent on this. I will be honest that I begrudge to some extent the hours that I have had to spend on this starting in October, because I feel like I have been shouting into the wind. And that's okay, right? I'm one person. I represent a constituency that that has a lot of questions about this type of zoning. We've dealt with a lot of zoning, but I am happy to take a vote because that is one of the ways that we do our business. And I'm going to want to make sure that we're having a discussion about what we're voting on, the specific language that we're voting on. And I will be proposing amendments, which I don't really want to be doing right now, but I will put the effort into it right now. I think what the intent of the tabling was not to kick the can. I think the intent, and maybe I messed up. Maybe I should have converted all of the work that we did in December into a red line draft that I sent to you. And on the 18th of December, I was focused on wrapping up my work year and going on holiday. The goal is not to kick this down the road. The goal is to say, there seem like there's a lot more work that can be done efficiently to put certain ideas on the table, to bring this in for a landing in the February meeting. That's what I thought we were doing. But if the commission says we want to vote on it, let's vote on it, and we'll go through all the procedure that we go through to vote.
I'm looking mostly for motions, not for comments. Commissioner Kensink.
Not a comment. It's more so that this is an apples to apples, but I think that as a commission, we work together. For 2 years, I've been working with Thirst, and that's not been an easy task. And I've had the majority of the blunt of it out of all the other 8 commissioners on this call, and I'll continue to have the blunt. I motioned something almost a year ago, Chair, and for you, I removed my motion because of you alone, saying that let's try to work with Thirst, and I agreed. I think that, and we're still trying to work with Thirst. So the point is I don't think Secretary Fay or anyone's against this idea. As we've all stated, I think everyone wants more affordable housing. We just don't understand how we're getting there. And I think
and more density, right? And more density.
And more density. Fair enough. Yes, it's not like I'm not against that. Just I think that there's going to be a lot of redlining, as to Commissioner Bay's point. When you're finished, I'm going to have some redline to add to it as well. So this is going to be an ongoing discussion. Saying we meet together, we discuss and have a private session, which I know Commissioner Holden said he was against, but I think would be a good idea as a community as a whole to get together, have a special before even our next, and discuss this maybe in person, talk as human beings, and maybe invite people if they want to come. And then as Treasurer Lemon Strauss said earlier, we discuss this and we bring up points and we see where we can come to a common ground, just as I did with Thirst. Because if it was up to me with Thirst, it would have been gone off my schedule a year ago. but it's not. And I'm going to continue working with them like I'm working with my constituents, like I'm working with the establishment. We want to work with everyone. That's it. Sorry. Thank you.
Commissioner Lemon Strauss, quickly,
So
please.
I'm gonna make a motion and flip my vote on this. I'm gonna second. I'm gonna move to table, and I'm gonna vote to table. Out of it's clear there's just more. We're holding people hostage here, and I'm a big fan of Matt Faye's on a personal level, and believe in his good faith on working through this. I was on the side of let's just get this done because it does feel like we spent months on it, and so it feels like if we've got feedback, we've got amendments, like there was time to do the red line, do the amendments, but it's also 10:45, so let's all put in the good faith effort, and then let's come and with that red line, with those amendments. I believe everyone when they say they want more density, when they want more affordable housing. I am a fan of Francois's resolution because I believe it accomplishes those goals. If there are better ways to accomplish those goals, then that's wonderful because we're aligned on those goals. So I move to table the motion.
I'll
There's a
second it.
motion to
I
table.
will second
There's
the
a
resolution.
second.
I already did it.
Thank you very much.
Did it.
All right.
Motion is not debatable, so please, all those in favor, requires a majority. All those in favor of tabling the motion, Commissioner Hanrahan, thank you. All those in favor of tabling the motion, please put your Zoom hands up. Oh, that's 9. It's unanimous. The motion has been tabled. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Without objection, meeting's adjourned 10:44. Thank you all very much.
This was a light agenda, you said, Chair. At the beginning, you said this is a light agenda.
I also said that we're going to wreck it real fast. In fact, we wrecked it real slow.
Hi.
Good
Good night, everybody.
Good night.